getting geared up for hell time. So.
Yeah.
Hey, did we sign above our name?
Yes. Fantastic.
Well, this one here we. So you want me to sign above now? Okay.
And remind him that there are two sets of meetings approved and agenda.
Two sets of what?
Two sets of meetings notes to approve. I wrote on this agenda, just make sure to remember.
Do I have
Do you have a copy? And
The
do I have a copy of the
our
agenda?
meetings for Bill Plymar
Do I have the
was
complete
that
package here?
There's nothing that Angie served that everybody wouldn't enjoy eating.
This is the proposal.
Okay.
I
But
gave you
just in
you want
case
one?
we're busy,
You
having
have it?
something that
No, I
didn't need
guess
a
not.
foot
I put one down there for you.
we could put in a hand and eat while we work.
Okay.
Might be the safest
Thank
bet
you.
to go.
So is Mike ordering that, or
He
you?
said he's gonna order and
Okay.
pay for it, so.
All right, I'll talk to Mike then.
But there was no one specific thing. Everybody was just like, we love all the food there.
So as long as it's a sandwich.
Yeah, we just wanted to get something that.
Like a sandwich,
Sandwich
chips
and
or
fries,
something?
sandwich and chips, something like that, where we could, if it's, because some of the guys will be at intersections without even a vehicle to sit down in.
So they're gonna be standing.
They might be standing and eating, and like if you got chicken and noodles and it's windy and you're sitting there trying to,
Did you see this? Vermont County Health Department.
I like it. Healthy department. 2020.
Call this meeting to order. All stand facing the flag for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Britton Luther.
Present.
R.D. Donovan.
Here.
Tim Yoke was present. Approval of the minutes. We're going to do for 9/7/21 and 9/14/21. Anybody want to make a motion on that?
I'll make a motion. We approve both sets of minutes from 9/7/21 and 9/14/21.
I'll second the motion.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approval of claims.
I'll make a motion to approve claims.
Second the motion to approve claims.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approval of payroll.
I'll make a motion to approve payroll.
Second the motion.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Open issues. We have the health department here today.
Good morning. So to give you guys just a little bit of what's going on, of course you're all aware of that Dr. Albright has turned in his retirement. And so officially October 1st will be his last day, but he has agreed to stay on until we get a replacement for him. So he'll still be there until the board, and then you guys will sign off on that. We have had a few interested positions, so we will be bringing that to our board and then bringing that to you after they make their decision.
Is there a job description sent out with that?
There was.
Okay, I haven't seen it, I just asked.
They're hung up on bulletin
Mhm.
too.
There was. So you do have to be a licensed physician. You can be retired and still maintain your license, but you do have to be a licensed physician. So what's going on with COVID? I kind of, when I sent you guys a breakdown of the last 10 days for the county, as of September 26th through September 1st, we've had 291 positive cases for Maine County residents.
How would that compare to last year at this time? Is there anything you compare it to?
I didn't even look. I haven't even compared those numbers. We did get a notification that 79% of those are household spreads, so it's within the household. They give us a percentage this time. Also, I sent you guys some information that the state sent us on the Pfizer boosters that we are getting ready to do, and they have done a few. If you received Pfizer, you can get a Pfizer booster, but there are guidelines and criteria that you have to go, that has to,
Well, they said that did get approved, right, for FDA?
Yes.
The Pfizer, is the Pfizer only one been approved FDA?
Pfizer only, at this point.
And the booster was, Pfizer got the booster too, right?
That is the only one that has the booster at this point.
And has the booster been approved with that? Or?
Yes, we are able to give the boosters now.
Okay.
So there is a criteria though, basically, people 18 years and older, you have to receive the Pfizer vaccine as your primary series. It has to be at least 6 months after your second dose, so we'll be watching the dates. And then we'll be following the CDC guidelines, so underlining conditions, and I did list those for you guys as well, such as cancer, chronic kidney disease, diabetes, Down syndrome, heart conditions, weakened immune systems. There's several that the CDC has laid out that we are able to give those booster vaccines. Any questions on that?
Is this information available on the website, county website?
We are working on that, and we're also working on a state website as well. So we'll be able to put this out on our county website, as well as the state has offered a free website as well. So we're working on that as well today.
Excellent, thank you.
And if you do anything with a separate website, can you send a link to us?
I will, and we will link it to, hopefully, from the county website to the state as well. Peggy, do you have anything? Our nurses were asked to do a couple businesses for employees, so they have went out and done that lately as well, and that's been received very well. So we look that any business or anyone that would like them to come out, they will make arrangements to do that, even if it's after hours. They will change their schedules.
As well as homebound. We'll be more than
Yes.
happy to go to a homebound person.
Any questions? Okay,
Thank you.
all right, thank you.
Anybody have any questions for the Board of Health Board? Next is Vermillion Rise. You got anything? Tom? Vermillion Trails Alliance.
Good morning, Les Zimmerman, Vermillion Trails Alliance. A couple little updates. First of all, we are on track to have our second annual victory run, which will be at the Vermillion Rise. We are toying with the notion of having a full marathon with this event. We've not made that decision yet, but we're definitely going with the half marathon and the 5K. That will be April 9th, this coming spring, 2022. The other item that I have that I want to talk about is we are in the process of making application for a Next Level Trails grant. We would like to ask you all to be the applicants for this grant. You have been the applicant for our previous grant. This particular project that we're talking about is a continuation and extension of that trail. We are in the process of doing, we have letters of intent prepared for the two landowners, and we have their approval to go forward at that. Their intention is to sell the land to us. So those things are moving along very well. And we would like for you all to also take ownership of that land. So that's our question for you today. We'd like an answer from you. I think we had a pretty much of an agreement in past meetings that that's what we want to do, but we want to kind of make that official because we are about to start spending a lot of time and a good bit of money putting this grant application together. So that's our ask for today.
Funding wise, could you refresh your memories about how the funding's coming about, matching grant or matching funds and so forth?
We have a question in right now to the Next Level Trails personnel to see if we can use our existing Wabash River Heritage Corridor Commission grant as match for the project. At this point in time, it's preliminary, and these are very much shoot from the hip estimates, but our grant application is probably going to be well north of $1 million because it's going to involve a bridge across the creek. It's going to involve putting in a trailhead. It's going to be a fairly extensive grant ask. Okay, help me again with your question. Did I answer your question?
You did.
Okay.
The question with this $1 million grant, what type of requirement's going to be as far as funding?
Oh, yeah, you asked me about match. Okay, so
You just did.
we have a question in to see if we can use the Wabash money as match toward Next Level Trails. We had an indication early on that that would be possible because these are different pots of money. We also are looking for support from a number of different groups here locally. Not ready to discuss that until we get a little bit more insight, but we're anticipating at least another $100,000 worth of grants of matching money that could come in.
So you said it's $1 million roughly, you think, that you'd be going after that?
Okay, if this was to be like a $1.25 million project, we would need $250,000 of grant. We need 20%. And we can see that. Getting our hands on it is another challenge. But again, as I said, unless, we need you to be the applicants for the grant, and we need that certainty before we can start to spend all of this time and all this, this footwork and some money that we have to spend. But we need assurance from you that you will be the applicant and take ownership of the project.
That's why I was asking what the county's responsibility in this.
None.
You're saying you don't have all the funds yet for your
We do
match.
not.
So you want us to, that's my question. I want to know what we
You
stand.
won't do anything unless we're successful with the grant. We need to have a name to put on the application. This is the applicant. We're not asking you for any money.
We had previously agreed to be the applicant on this project. It's been going on
I have no
for,
problem with that.
I don't know how long. but
I'm just trying to figure out where the
last 6
county's
months.
obligated here.
We're obliged to take over the project once it's been funded appropriately and built for that matter. But we'll be the applicant on the paperwork, and if we're not successful as the applicant, then the project goes until the next period comes up of funding.
Well, and the other thing I will point out to you, Next Level Trails originally came out with a $90 million funding, and it was being granted out in 3 tranches of $30 million apiece. This is round 3. But as a result of, I think it's the Federal Recovery Act, something, there's another tranche of money in there. There's another about $60 million in that fund. So if we are not successful in round 3, we will have done most of the work, most of the, getting this application ready, and we can go back in, hit round 4, hit round 5. As I was telling you, this is a process.
Yeah.
It's agonizing at times.
A lot of money out there, and why not get it?
I hear you. I'm in.
So what's the status on your other one, your other grant? Where's that going?
Well, as you know, the bids came in higher than we had anticipated, so we're not going to award that grant at this time. We have been in touch with DNR. They have told us 2 things. First of all, if we have to, we can adjust the scope of the project to fit the available money. The other thing that we can do, if we have to, is we can get an extension of time. Our hope is that we can combine the 2 projects into one construction project. And we're still waiting on some answers from them.
You think the requirements for the contractor was mainly limited those who wanted to apply, and locally smaller contractors didn't because of requirements of bidding on it?
The requirements are gonna be what they are, and anybody that wants to bid it that's qualified can bid it. For what it's worth, before we went to bid with this first project, I went and spoke personally, sat down with my neighbor to see if he wanted to bid it, and he didn't want to do it. We had a couple other contractors came and looked at the job, and they decided not to bid. Apparently, we missed at least 1 or 2 contractors up in the north part of the county. I'm not going to say that was an oversight. That was just a lack of doing our due diligence or doing research or whatever.
Like I said, I've always been supportive of it. It's fine with me, whatever you want to do.
I think, honestly, I do think that you've already made that decision.
Yeah.
But I just want to clarify it and make it official so that we can go ahead and start with the
I was just trying
paperwork.
to have a little more clarity about what our county obligation is.
Nothing at this point. And you know, if everything goes according to plan, this should not cost the county any money. And I think as a group, I think we have a decent track record on keeping our word.
You guys do a good job.
I think we move forward by agreement. I don't know, we need to make motions or whatever, but I think we're in agreement to be the applicant on this project,
Just take a voice vote, just to,
if you wish.
yeah. A motion. Just
Second.
voice vote. Second. You all in favor? You in favor?
I am.
In
Aye.
favor? I'm in favor.
Gentlemen, thank you.
That's fine.
I'd like to ask my good friend and colleague, Tom Milligan, to talk to you for a minute.
Okay, another subject right there on our existing trail that is there at Trailhead Park and goes there. So my wife and I, we went down and rode the Wabash Trail down at Terre Haute on our bicycles and came out there. And so here's a father and a daughter that's only about this tall, and they have their hunter clothes on and their hunter orange hats, and it's youth hunting day, and she's got this crossbow that's like, you know, it's not a bow and arrow thing, and says it's hunting season. And so we've talked about this for that trail, and I don't know that it's up to us to close the trail, but I'm leery about having people in the woods during hunting season. And if you so desire, we'll put up something across there or whatever, or signage, or I'm looking for some guidance here, because
I would, Tom, I would definitely echo that about putting some safety precautions up. I know hunting season's big right there, and shutting the trail down, and especially during hunting season.
That would be my inclination, but I think because of the ownership of the project, you guys say it and we'll carry it out. And I'm very comfortable in saying the trail's closed during deer season.
That part of the trail, is it maintained by the park now, or how's it being maintained?
So basically, so we're doing that in-house at this point. So yeah, I go out and spray it myself.
When it's complete and you're not maintaining, or the VTA's not maintaining it, who's going to maintain it then?
We've still got that to figure out. And I think that enlisting, I mean, a lot of trails are maintained by volunteers, and I think that's the route that we're on at this point. That doesn't say that that's the answer forever.
Let's take another step. Who's going to be responsible for this trail?
Well,
It's
you
commissioners
guys,
or highway department, or
it's the commissioner's name, the county's name is on the trail, so that could be the eventuality is the county's responsible, and they have taken responsibility for the park and do a wonderful job mowing, and so I would say that some of those things we're yet in those things have not been figured out yet.
Well, for what it's worth, if I could interject here,
get on the microphone.
just kind of to help answer your question, I think in Park County, the trail group has established a fund to provide for maintenance. Am I correct, Tom?
They're working on that, yeah.
And so that there's a lot of solutions to these kinds of things, and
we try to stay tuned in and figure out how we can move forward and to make this. We don't want this to be a burden on the county, obviously. I think, as Tom said, the park district has stepped up and has taken good care of that park. They've adopted it, basically, and it brought it into their system. But the trail is a different piece of that.
Where I was going with this is that whoever's managing the trail probably should be able to make those decisions as to whether the trail's open or closed for whatever the reason may be, where it's hunting season, bridges are out, trails are in disorder, whatever the case may be. Eventually, I'd like to see this probably go into our highway system, our transportation system. But I think my perspective on it is whoever's managing the trail, if that's VTA, then if you believe that the trail should be closed, then I think that should be something under your purview to do, since you're managing the trail for daily activities anyway.
Well, for what it's worth, I think you do prohibit hunting on the county farm. Am I correct?
I think so.
Okay, and we have a sign at the border of the county property that says trail ends here.
And it's not been sprayed beyond that point, and there's a tree across the trail just past that point. So we have made efforts right there to say that the trail, and that was our agreement to start this project, is the trail would end at that point within the confines of the county property, and that way you don't, sort of proof of concept. Is it something where people are, something bad is going to happen, where people are going to haul their trash out there, all those things? That does not seem to be the case now. And so we're in the proof of concept period right there, where we're figuring out how responsible people are and everything, and I think eventually the trail will go forward. But I think that then you can tell the neighbors, well, there's not a bunch of trash, and there's not bad things going on. The drug dealers don't go down there, and all those different things. And the history says that the more people you have on the trail, the less problems you have. So people don't like doing bad things when people are watching. So the more traffic you can have on your trail, the safer it becomes. So, but during hunting season, we're hesitant about having people out there, even though it is within the confines of the county property. And we sure don't want people going further down and bothering the people, the landowners at this point that do hunt there. So I mean,
Tom, it'd be your guys' opinion to shut it down?
That's my opinion, is that
I think shut it down or just post a notice.
Well, I mean, during hunting season.
during
yeah.
hunting
Yeah,
season.
deer
yeah.
season, yeah.
Yes.
When you're saying hunting season.
Deer
how do you
hunting.
define hunting season?
Well, and that could go from what day after what's Friday
Friday starts
until
archery.
sometime in January.
And I mean, this little girl, it was youth hunting season this past weekend, right? So I was kind of caught by
But my question, you guys, since you're involved in trails, I mean, there's so many trails, what is the other trail association doing about this?
All good questions, and we are on, as Tom said, we're in the proof of concept phase here, and so we're exploring all these different options. I don't even know what Wabashiki's doing, but that place is open to hunting.
Yeah, and there are hunters out there in that area, and the trail was open, and it was just somebody that was hunting there that says, you really ought to have hunter orange on, because people they'll shoot at something that just moves. They don't necessarily identify their target. That's what the guy told me that had the bow and all this stuff. He says they'll shoot at something that just moves. A responsible hunter as yourself would not do that. Not everybody. That's just what the guy said. I am not a hunter. I don't know that. I'm not trying to trash the hunters. Don't get me wrong at all. It's just that I was just warned by the guy that was standing there, you need to have hunter orange on if you're going to be on that trail. And I just, that was a huge warning bell that went off for me.
So you guys need a decision from us?
Well, I think that would be appropriate.
I think we got a decision. I think we're going to post a notice there. We're not going to put a rope there. We can't keep people out. I mean, you have had people hunting on the county farm regardless of what your rules are. You all know that. Well, they do.
No, we don't.
Well, they do.
You don't want to know about this.
You don't want to know. But I think all we can do is say, you know,
put some sun.
Yeah, it is deer season.
I think I'll just reiterate what I thought is that if you're managing the trail, and I think we've allowed BTA to manage the trails, is if you're doing a cleanup day, you close it down, there's not people necessarily hiking, you're cleaning things up. You're managing trail, I don't think you need to be coming back to the commissioners for each decision or period of time. Now, that's my opinion, but I think if you're managing the trail and you're being prudent about it, unless we have some other issues coming up because of it that we don't believe it's to be managed properly, then I think then we'll get involved. But I think you're managing the trail just like our parks do, even though you're a volunteer organization. I think that you are more or as responsible as anybody to make those decisions from a day-to-day basis.
And I think we do have a work day coming up in another week or so where they're going to take iron up, but I think that's part of it, wear orange safety vests and just be aware and have hunter orange on.
I know Boy Scouts, when we went out camping during this time of year, it was a hunter orange thing, and we would go out, and usually the hunters didn't want to be around us because it would spook whatever's out there. But anyway, that's my opinion. That's not.
We just want
Not
to
binding
we
by
want to
any
be
means.
responsible with what we're doing.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Question?
Next, we have presenting of the surplus bids. We received them in the last meeting, and
Come to the auditor's office.
we could award them, but we wanted to print out so everybody could see and make it more clear, and R.J. Donovan's going to take care of that.
So all of our 11 items that we put out for bid, we received bids for 8 items. If you guys want, I can read them off again. Or if not, we can just make a motion to award them.
I have one question.
Sure.
If you want, that's up to Tim. You don't have to remove off from my account, but on the computer, has that been sanitized, or I don't know where the computer came from even?
It's from the health department. I believe it's been Wendy. Is that?
Yeah, we've got it in our office. Once the bid is awarded, we will give it to the IT people.
To scrub it. And
Okay.
so of all the items, I would make a motion to award all 8 items that received the bids and the minimum bids to the appropriate people that bid.
Was there not one that didn't meet? reserve?
So let's see. The
Okay.
2013 Chevy Tahoe didn't receive a minimum, and then 2 of the highway equipment didn't receive any bids. Sure. So the 2006 Chevy Trailblazer was won by ZoomX for $601. The 2011 Ford Explorer was a high bid of $2,601 to Richard and Florida Pruitt. The 2013 Dodge Charger was Ringwood Motors for $2,560. The 2012 Dodge Charger was Ringwood Motors for $1,100. The 91 International Truck Griffin Logging for $2,000. The Ford 600 Dave Francis $105. And a roller for Chris Fleming for $200, and the HP laptop workstation to Joyce Taylor for $50.
Any questions?
But I would make a motion to award those bids to the appropriate people.
I'll second the motion to award.
Discussion?
The one that didn't meet reserve, we're still,
The let's see, the 2013 Chevy Tahoe. The sheriff said he's taking that back, and I think he's going to look to trade that in on a new piece of equipment.
no further discussion on my part.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, moving right along. Joe update.
As things are moving along, demolition is continuing. The upstairs has been cleaned out, or the attic area has been cleaned out. They're making the modifications and cuts to the existing building. They'll be pouring, if they haven't started pouring foundations, they're in the process of doing that. We've had a little bit of a delay because of Duke Energy. There's a delay there with the relocation of the main power line. And until that's complete, it's going to deter some of the foundation work that's out on the pod and the mechanical room. Things remain on schedule, and we're just a little bit over $1 million in contingency yet. I went through the security systems and the locks and so forth and completed that yesterday. Yeah, is there anything else of importance that anybody should know?
No, all the footers and everything are poured for that
Already poured.
area, and they're leveling it out, getting ready to lay the slab, I think, either today or tomorrow for the admin.
Okay.
How many inmates we're keeping in our jail? About 10 or 11 or something like that?
You want
On
to come up here?
average, About 9.
What?
go to the podium.
Have them come up here so be
You wanna come
recorded.
up?
Derek, you wanna?
Eric? So everybody can hear you.
Sure. On average, right now, it's probably about 9 inmates. Some days are heavier than others due to court, but it's a never-ending process of transporting people back and forth for doctor's appointments in court, and people still get arrested every day, and got to find some place to put them.
Our jail population's up, ain't it?
Yeah, we're up over total with the ones that are being held at other jails, and one we have at the jail today, I believe we're
It's
at
up to
80.
81 or something like that.
80 or 81, yes. Which is higher than we have been probably in the last 2 years. We had a spike about 3 years ago where we were in the 90s for a little bit, and then now we're back up in the 80s. And we're keeping over 70 at different jails right now at an average probably of $37 a day per person.
But our jail is going pretty good on the project.
I believe so. You walk through there and they got quite a bit done on the inside, and it's going to look a lot different on the old jail. And I don't believe they've started digging for the new pod yet, but I think that was in the plans for the next couple weeks, as Britton touched on. Duke Energy's caused a little bit of delay on some of that stuff, so with power pole relocations. But other than that, everything's just plugging along, trying to tread water, keep our head above water right now.
Okay. Any other questions for Derek? Thank you.
All right.
Baker Tilly Municipal Advisory Services.
This is for Brenda, she's not here today, but this is for, to find the issues that are in the system from previous years.
Okay.
Because she wanted this taken care of the last meeting, but, she's not today, so, and then she needs to get this through, because they're helping us with, things that are incorrect in the system.
Okay, so she's wanting approval for,
Service, so we can use their services.
okay.
Is there an amount not to exceed?
Nope. I'll make a motion that we approve, subject to probably a couple of items after we get to discussion.
I'll second his motion.
Discussion?
As RJ hit on, there's not, this is an open book right now, and it should be not to exceed without prior approval for any continuation of the contract. And also, I'd like to start, a lot of these contracts are coming in without listing who's working on them. They just list hours and people, whether the principal's working on it or administrative assistants working on it. It's not giving who's working on them, nor a projection of the hours of those people that are working on it. So I'd like to see the contract approved, but modified to the tune of a not to exceed number, and whether that's 5,000, I'm not sure what your estimate is of what the cost is going to be, and if we don't know, I'll suggest $5,000 without prior approval. And then I'd like to have a listing of the persons who are going to work on it with their wages accordingly, since it's a time and material type contract.
Okay. All in favor of accepting as stated with the conditions?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Website use. On the, I got a question on the new hire within the auditor's office. Was that going to be part of the job responsibilities as a website?
And we've already started that.
Okay, I'm just saying that it's on here, so I want to make clarification on that, so.
Started updating that. Cheyenne's
Okay.
actually doing that now. She put the new job postings on there.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Britton, did you have something on that? On the office departments on the website?
Probably, but I don't remember what it was.
Think about it a little bit. So we do have a point of website ownership.
Yep.
Okay. Any office holders here have any issues about the website? I mean, let us know what's going on. I mean, are you using it? Or,
We just had a training on it.
do what?
We just had a training on it.
Okay.
Was it useful?
Was it useful? Yeah. She's learned a lot from it. She can buzz around on it, so. I don't know if any of the other office holders are doing it, but we are in our office.
Good.
So she'll take care of all the postings of the county, anything we have, she'll be taking care of from now on.
Commissioners and auditors, yes.
Okay. Auditor provide costs for various accounts associated with IT functions.
She's not here today, so I don't know if she.
Okay. Okay, anybody else got any discussion on the website issue? There's a lot of ways we can go there. I am working on trying to get, I had a phone call, a text thing to both South of Main and North of Main schools to get a group of young people that within the schools that would help develop a video for Welcome to Vermilion County. There's a lot of things we could do to develop in that, because I think when you look at our website page, when you go to it, it's the county. And I think we can develop something like some videos and different things, short videos of maybe the football games, different things that farmers in the field, different things I think what is Vermilion County. And I offered my drone services, to go into that and get this group together and have them as a collective group, young people with the overseer and maybe one of the teachers, overseeing it, but develop something that would say, welcome to Vermilion County. And that's kind of in the works. And so I just want to bring that up. We're talking about the website.
Can we stream off that website? Do we know?
I don't think so.
Okay. If he's doing something like this, I just was thinking maybe it could be posted on the website. I don't know how.
That's in the works. It hasn't took any official status of where it's going. Any other questions on that, anybody? We're going to move on to the next topic. Ron, Mack Surveyor, come up, Ron.
What do you want to know? I wasn't.
Oh, just give us an update. And what you need from us. I mean, it's.
We've officially got 2 cornerstones mapped, marked, documented. IntelliLeap does not want us to upload all the coordinates and all the paperwork that goes with each one of those yet until there's a bunch, because it takes them a while to get that into the format to load it onto the county website. And when they get it onto the county website, there'll be a link for each cornerstone monument that'll go directly to the tie card for that monument. So we've taken our first steps. We're getting that part done.
And that will save the county money for when they have a surveying.
It'll save property owners a considerable amount of money. For instance, there's one family that had to settle in the state. Their survey cost them over $20,000 because they didn't have any documents, didn't know where to start. And that's why these things are very, very important. I've got, I get 3 or 4 phone calls a week about property lines and property lines. And so without these documents and without these points marked on the map accurately, surveyor's got to go clear back to the old records.
When a surveyor comes out doing a job, he can access a lot of this
He can
information.
be able to access that from our county website.
Good.
Right. There's a lot of issues with our GIS system. We've got county road numbers that aren't right. And when we get to that point where we can actually pinpoint where that cornerstone monument is or where the range line is, without upsetting the whole world, we'll just come to the commissioners and ask them to make a proclamation to accept road numbers where they are. That way you don't have to change anything. Okay. For instance, the old, I call it the old river road down here. On the original petitions, that's 350, but on all our records, 911 is 450. It's just a matter of where the range line shifted. Seems to be, from what we can see so far, just a misinterpretation of the original field notes. The gentleman drew the original map that got converted to digital the first time to the first GIS company, and now WTH has it, and all they did was just copy the files over. So the other thing that we have that hopefully we can straighten out is we have small triangular sections based on where the 10 o'clock line is. Not sure that's exactly correct. I don't know that we should have those. In some parts of this, we have sections that have 5 sides. Depending on where the 10 o'clock line is, it gives it an extra side, and that's fine, But then you end up with a triangle on the other side, and I'm thinking that triangle just belongs to the section below the 10 o'clock line. So it's just the way the map was drawn.
On the Dana Ditch issue, is that something that we need to go back and say we're going to start over with that and make it official?
I think the best thing to do, without opening up a whole can of worms, would be just to maybe get John to draw up an agreement between you and the Dana Ditch Board that says they are operating under your authority. Because if you go back and you read the commissioner record books, in some points they refer to it as the District Drainage Board. In other points they refer to it as the Dana Ditch Board. And I think it's just a matter of interpretation. But what I was told by a previous commissioner was, when the Soil Water Conservation District turned it over to the county, it was supposed to be the Drainage Board. But the county, since the Drainage Board was the commissioners, okay, the commissioner of District 2 just had the county highway boys go out and take care of the ditch, okay. Well, the farmers weren't happy with that. They, spraying wasn't getting done, it wasn't getting cleaned out, which is understandable. There's only so much they can do. So that's when the commissioner, quote unquote, said, we're just going to turn it over to the farmers. Okay. And so I think that's where that concept.
But we lack that document.
Yes, lack that one document. Okay. And then I think that will make everything agreeable, allows the county to continue to assess the maintenance fees.
But wouldn't we need to address the issue of the appointees and how they're appointed and things like that?
Yeah, the commissioners appointed them. So
okay. I mean, we need to address it as X terms or X amount, X.
Yeah, however you guys want to do that. Because if you bring it under the District Drainage Board, you need to understand that ditch starts way down by close to John Cheesewright's house, runs north under 36, ties into the state highway ditch, runs west, then runs north again, crosses under the railroad, goes clear up to Old 36, comes back down towards Dana, and then the north half of all the storm drains in Dana also drain into that. Then there's another line that starts east ACM, runs through that field, goes underneath the railroad again, ties into that north ditch that comes in at an angle across the north end of Dana. So I think that's the reason why the commissioners, when they set up that board, said one member of that drainage board has to be from the town of Dana. Okay. And that's why Steve Drake was appointed when David Porter went off, because Steve technically.
So they're all county commissioner appointments too.
That's right.
What's your thoughts on that, Brett?
I think it needs to go back to the drainage board and get a complete proposal together for the commissioners to act on. I don't think we're ready to act on that today.
Well, this is the commissioners. This is all the commissioners. Nobody else has anything to do with this.
The Dana Ditch Board is not well documented.
And that's what I'm saying. Just create the document and let it go. Otherwise, then by statute, I'm supposed to be paid $2 for every mile of that ditch every year to run out and inspect it. Well, to inspect it, then I've got to pull my ATV out down here on a trailer, ride that whole thing, take pictures. It's going to be, I'm not going to pull my ATV out, trailer out for free.
Since this is the commissioner's decision, what do we want to do then?
Yeah, it's just for you guys to decide.
I'd like for the county drainage board to put together a proposal and bring that back to the commissioners to make it official.
It's not, the drainage board doesn't have anything to do with this.
I know, but we as commissioners can ask you to do this. So
I would like the drainage board to come back and make a proposal to the commissioners as to whether we're going to maintain it in the drainage board or whether we will, and if we need a Dana ditch board, if we decide that that's what's best for the county and best for the ditch and constituents, then we will come about to define how that ditch board is going to be administered and how the funding will be administered. I think that all needs to be put together and not just a decision made that.
I
measure what the
wasn't trying to
decision
make a
will be.
decision, I was just bringing it up for discussion.
Well,
That's what I believe.
Well, Ron, I kind of agree with what you're saying, but I mean, also your county drainage board with the farmers and excavating season, what's the likelihood of you have a
It won't
quorum in the
happen
next,
before January.
in the next 4 months? Because I don't see that happening
It
until
won't happen before January.
Because I know you got a lot of busy people on there. There's no way you're going to get a quorum called.
That's another matter that we need to probably discuss as well, but
It won't
I
happen
think
before
Britton's
January.
got the good ideas. I mean, we're putting it back to the drainage board to come up with recommendations, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
And I think that's, we respect you guys on your board to do that, so that's what, you guys in agreement in moving that
Well,
way?
I'm almost as certain that what Ron brought for us today, his drainage board is going to recommend in 4 months, but if you two want to wait that long, that's up to you. I mean, that's your guys' purview, but I have no issue
And I tell you,
doing
and then as far as the guys on the Dana ditch board, that's the way they would prefer to do it, because they want to take care of it when they have time to take care of it. The other thing you got to realize is that to go out and spray these are open waterways, these are setbacks and all these other things. You have to have a special herbicide license to spray that. I can't go to Nutrien or ACS or any of these other services around here, and it's going to be expensive.
that's the reason why we need the drainage board involved in this, because of the county's liability, and we
That's
don't
right.
have an official Dana ditch board yet
Yeah,
that's
we
been
don't have,
established, so.
we gotta set this in order.
That's
what I'm
right.
saying, I don't know where to start, so.
That's where the drainage board should bring forth a document or an agreement of how this will all come together, whatever it looks like when it gets here, but then we can make a decision, a proper decision on the monies, on the ditch board, and how the county's going to handle this. It doesn't just affect this, because it could roll over to other ditches as well, legal ditches, so.
And here's the thing, State Board of Accounts says if it's not a county-operated ditch or under the authority of you guys, we can't hand on to that money. It's got to go to them. And then you come back to the part, well, now do we continue to assess taxes for maintenance if the ditch isn't part of us, isn't part of the county? And so it's going to snowball pretty quickly unless we come into some kind of a plan.
Well, back to the original thing, this ditch board is kind of out there, but it's not out there, and we gotta set it in order first before we go any farther. And I agree with Britton, it needs to go back to the drainage board for recommendation, and then bring it back to commissioners and
Okay.
then go from there.
Well, it'll probably be, like I say, it'll probably be January.
Well, it's been a problem for a long
Yeah,
time, so.
it's been there for years and
Yeah,
years and years. It's not going anywhere,
Yeah,
so.
so that's what I'm proposing. You want to rephrase what you wanted to say, Britt, about that, and make a motion?
I don't know if we need a motion, but
Or just
agreement being fine if we're in agreement. I would like to see the county ditch board, drainage board, provide a proposal on this particular ditch and bring it back to the commissioners for approval, discussion and approval. Pretty simple with that. Just because there's a meeting that's been put off till January doesn't mean there can't be a special meeting. There's actually supposed to be a meeting every month. I don't know where all this came about, but we'll discuss that. The drainage board will decide what they're going to do with that. But it doesn't mean that they can't meet before that time.
There's no big
Whatever
hurry
time.
for it,
No.
money.
Drainage board voted to have a meeting every 2 months. Before, it only met once a quarter, and that was you guys, well, the commissioners, only met once a quarter.
But they
so,
can have special meetings.
I want to support what you just said, however you want to do it, that we recommend them.
RJ, you're not in agreement, or you're?
No, that's fine. I'm in agreement with that. That's fine.
So, we respect you guys what you do, and so we will.
So my intent right now is
That's
I'll see if I can get a joint meeting in November after harvest,
That's fine.
with the county drainage board and the Dana ditch board, and work out a proposal that'll be amendable to both parties.
One other quick
Forward.
thing is, how can we help you on the, or do you want to discuss about anything about the KU project, or is that separate?
Yeah,
Need to be
we need
discussed?
to approve the HWC contract. for
It's
the
not
tra-
required. There are 3 ordinances.
You're out of order.
Wait.
No, I'm not.
Wait.
There are 3 ordinances
I'm
on the
talking,
county
please.
record book, 3 different ordinances that covers 3 different purchase
We'll take this
levels.
to a drainage board meeting.
Did you go read the book?
Okay, that discussion's done. Let's take it to a drainage board meeting. I think it'd be best handled separately, okay?
Okay.
So, anything else, other than that? Anybody got any question for the surveyor? Anybody? Thank you very much.
Okay.
We'll discuss this later. Derek Williams, are you here, Derek? Here comes Derek.
Gotta do for you.
911 update. What we'd like to have, I am suggesting or asking from you, and I'm asked for a penny and different departments, is a monthly report on 911 addresses, applications, and the status of them. And you don't have to be here. Penny don't have to be here, but I think it's important that we do, and I keep updated, you know, how long it takes them to get done, and that's what I want. And so, do you have that report?
No, I didn't know anything about a report.
Okay. Okay, that's something that, I'm talking about myself. The other 2 commissioners ask you questions when you want, but that's what I'm wanting to see, that we can include in a report every month, is
Sure.
the 911 address applied for, the status of where they at, you know, I mean, as far as how they've been, what is it, verified, or?
Yeah.
Do you have to go out and look at the site and verify what?
That where the site is, and I use a GPS to map it and give it the address. Usually Penny already has the address, and I just basically go out and verify that the address that Penny has given it is good, bad, needs to be changed, you know, adjusted, whatever. But she's pretty good for sitting in the office and eyeballing where the people tell them we're going to be building the stuff, and I go out there. If it's within 10 digits and it's a wide open space and not worried about being overcrowded in that area, then the address is good, and I just verify it with the computer and put it on the map.
So once you put it in that computer, that's all you gotta do, it's done?
Yeah, I put it on my computer because mine's the editable one for the county as far as addresses go, and then I sync it with WTH in Indianapolis, and that updates their server. And when their server gets updated, anybody else that has a map can sync their files, and it'll update their map.
Okay, so
anything
how
new-
does that work with the post office? So we had a problem with one out here that, I guess it's in the Dana.
Yeah, I don't understand that
Cayuga,
one,
and it
'cause that's
came
the
back,
first
so I'm
time
trying
that's
to figure out,
happened.
does the post office get an update from you, or do they, how does?
No, they pick it up like everybody else does, like through WTH and ThinkJust. The property owner will go to the post office and let them know that they've built a new property, and the post office can pull it up on a map after it's been verified. The one in question, this is the first time it's ever taken this long for the post office to recognize the address.
So that was a break between the Dana and the Cayuga?
Yeah, it's on 75 West right there, and it makes a 90 and goes east and west for a short bit, and there's 2 houses, where one established house and the new house. The established house still has, to the east of it is a Dana address. This address here, the new build, is a Dana address. Then you make a 90-degree turn and start heading north, and the very next address is a Cayuga address.
Okay.
So it's right there on the line, where I don't know how they figure out and differentiate and how they set their limits and borders and everything else. That's, it's post office thing.
But you can furnish us a report once a month for
Oh,
a
absolutely.
morning meeting?
I can get with Penny and sit down and figure something out and put it on paper for you guys if that's what you want.
Okay. You guys got any questions on the?
No, that would sound good.
And then one of us, I guess we can work it out between us. I know Penny's here pretty much every meeting, but if, you guys
Well, I think
want
even
me
if
to
it's
be
just
here,
an email
Yeah,
to
just
the
an email.
auditor, that way
That's
it's just a
fine.
paper, that way
That's
we can
fine.
read it as a
So
meeting.
copy all you guys and the auditor.
Yeah, that would be great.
All right. Yeah, we can work that out. And then I'll put you on there too.
Paige.
I would just like to be CC'd on that.
Sure.
So I can update my record card.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Anybody got any other questions for Derek? Anybody?
All right, if you guys don't mind, no disrespect, but I'm gonna excuse myself from the rest of the meeting, 'cause I need to get back to the jail.
You're excused.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for coming.
All right.
Next, we got the reuse authority appointment. We put this off a little bit, and we've had several applicants that went through and looked at the ones that I seen, and I think today we need to make a decision on that.
Yeah, I mean, I've reviewed all four, and I think one stands out tremendously with the person's qualifications and just unbelievable the things that she does. I would move, if I could get a second, to appoint Lacey Romig to the Vermillion Rise Reuse Board.
I'll second the motion.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Penny Carpenter. Anybody have any other questions with that?
Excuse me.
Good morning. So far in 2021, I have issued 66 building permits. 14 are for new homes. So
66 so far this year?
yes.
And how's that compared to last year? You think?
We did 97 for the total of last year. The first of the year started off pretty strong, and we're slowing down later in the year.
The year before that was only half of that, wasn't it?
Right, we only did 57 in W2019, yes.
Okay.
So in the 14 new homes, we have 2 in Helt Township, 8 in Clinton Township, 3 in Eugene, and 1 in Highland Township. So they're spread throughout the county.
Okay.
All right.
Anybody got any questions for?
Thank you.
Like I said, if you can just send us a copy of it once a month and we have it, you don't have to be here.
Sure.
While you're away, I appreciate that. Okay, next is ordinance. Any discussion on the solar, which that's done and approved. Anybody on the solar?
I guess, John, since you're here, we talked about possibly amending it. What's the process of doing that?
If you want to amend an ordinance, you need to send the proposed amendment to the Area Plan Commission. The Area Plan Commission then has a period of time where they're allowed to conduct a public meeting and send their opinion on your proposed amendment back to you. From that point, it can continue to go back and forth. If there's a point where you outright deny it, then the amendment is killed. If there's a point where you approve it, then the amendment goes into effect. Or I believe it's if a period of 90 days passes where you do nothing on a proposed amendment, then it would pass into an ordinance.
Okay. So we need to take the current ordinance, and if we see something we want to amend, we would.
You would prepare in writing what you wanted the new ordinance to say,
Okay.
and send that to the APC, and then they get a period of time to look at your proposed amendment, and they can send it back to you with different recommendations. They can say, oh no, don't do this, or yeah, that's a good idea. Then you guys get a period of time to muse on it and decide. Ultimately, the authority rests with the Commissioners Board to make the final decision. There's just a timeline that you have to follow.
All right. So if we choose to do amendments, it's up to us to write something up and send it to them.
You send it to them. Here's what I think needs changed, and then they get to make comment on it back to you. But ultimately, the Commissioners would get to make the final decision.
The other question we're talking about that, if there is no ordinance, how does that work? If there's no ordinance or something, can people just do it?
Yeah, if there's not a law against doing something, then it would be assumed that it's okay to do it.
So, the question I had is, if you don't have an ordinance in effect, then there's no restriction from someone.
Mm-hmm. But we do have a solar ordinance in place,
Yeah.
and so whenever we decide to make some changes, we just
Actually, I think that's just an amendment to the or to the ordinance. That's what these are.
Well,
Was it not? Anyway, yeah, we just
Yeah.
proceed like you said.
That's what I was wondering, you know. Anybody got any discussion on the solar? Next is wind. It was taken under advisement at the last meeting. We make a standard procedure. If an ordinance comes up, we will have read it by title at least at the first meeting. Second meeting, we will either vote on it or we will table it for discussion. More discussion. So that's
I have
where
a
we're at.
lot of comments and I think things that we need to discuss to work through some of the rough edges, and I'm not sure if we understand all the ramifications of some of these sections. I'd like to go to a special meeting. Otherwise, I think we're going to be here for an extended period of time and just concentrate on this wind ordinance, whether it's tomorrow or whenever.
But would you be talking of things like amending it, like the solar ordinance, making changes to it?
Well, at this point, we make comments, and if we change even one thing, it's got to go back to the APC for their review for 45 days or whatever it is. We have up to 90 days to comment on it. Either we can accept it as it is today, or as it's written today, or if we want to change anything in it, it has to go back to APC, whether it's one word or a number of words. But anyway, there's a lot of either clarification needs here or an understanding that I don't necessarily have with this, that I would think that I think we'd be better off discussing it as its own line item and it's at a meeting where we're not. This is the only type of discussion that we have. And that's what I would propose. I don't think it's ready to be passed today, or not in my corner anyway.
Well, I think Penny and Bob had sent us some documents on some attorneys that had reviewed this entire ordinance and, gave their 2 cents on it. I personally have read it. I'd be willing to pass it today, or at least make a recommendation today. I don't know how Tim feels, but I'll make a motion that we approve the wind energy conversion system amendment to the Vermillion County zoning ordinance number 2021-13 as presented by the APC.
I think that, number one thing, I appreciate those who on the zoning board. I don't know if you know it or not, but they've done a lot.
There's actually a motion on the floor that we need to act on, and then we'd have discussion.
I second it. Discussion. I think the zoning board has done a wonderful job. I don't even know, I think where's John Moore? He was here. But, oh, there he is. He's one of the members of the zoning board, and I think we have
Joe Ellis is here.
Joe Ellis is here, and Ron Mack. And you guys did a lot, and I know you got paid a lot of money to do it, jokingly, but we do appreciate what you've done. And I think also that others counties have came to us and told us they appreciate the way we did this and made the public open to the public. People were informed. They got to speak their part. And I think it's very important in the process. I've talked to other counties and it didn't work that way. The people didn't have a voice. And in good government, the people's voice needs to be heard. And I just want to say, from my perspective, I appreciate all the ones on the zoning board, what they did. And I know it's been a headache, and they made a recommendation. And I think the appointments we made there and the people who made that decision, I think we need to honor that. And so that's where I'm at on that. So
I believe if
we can always go back. We said earlier that we can go back and make changes, in which we can, but I think we need to have something in place. Honor what they've done, and then we can edit it like we've done on other things. So that's mine.
I believe if we pass this as is, I don't think we have the staff or the wherewithal to be able to administer this program as it's written. I believe it's not necessarily defendable in a number of areas. I believe that that it will cost the county a considerable amount of money as if there's ever a challenge to any portion of it, or if we don't administer it correctly. So I still would advise against passing this ordinance as it is currently written.
In a decision you're talking about like that, anything can be challenged by anybody, a lawsuit could come from anybody, you know, so.
Sure.
Well, we can, like I said, we stated that before, if something needs to be changed, we can go back and change it.
Now, the problem with amending is that it's a moving target. If we're going to do wholesale amendments, why don't we do it now instead of doing it later? If we're going to piecemeal amendments, then it becomes a complicated tracking program as to when somebody makes an application and when that application will be approved, and then what are they, at what point are they underneath an obligation. And if it gets phased in, it becomes even more complicated between a single project. Again, I'll advise against passing it as is currently, at least without additional discussion and review. I'm not sure I understand some of the sections even that are in there, or the intent. It may be clear, I just don't understand it.
Any closing comments, RJ?
I don't know. Just a special thanks to the APC and all the town halls they put on. Like I said, $60 a meeting, I don't think it's anywhere near enough for some of the stuff you guys went through, so I appreciate that.
I reiterate that down. The APC did a very nice job of town halls and a lot of consideration. I appreciate the work that they put forth on it.
Absolutely.
So I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passed. County ordinance.
Can I ask a question? So
Sure.
you just pass it?
Yes,
So it's good you have it now.
it's passed.
Thank you. And
Um,
there's no question about it being first reading, second reading?
Everything can be questioned. I mean,
Well, we done our first reading last meeting.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
County ordinance number 2021 illegal dumping ordinance.
I assume you skipped the 2021-11, the COVID one for the courthouse.
Okay.
Now this one we have been doing for a month now. So do you want to read this one, or do you want to go ahead and pass this one since we've been
Read it so
doing
everybody can, any phones is one page in.
Yeah. County Ordinance 2021-11, an ordinance declaring people coming to the courthouse are subject to a temperature check, and visibly ill persons may be denied entry to the courthouse due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. Whereas it is brought to the attention of the Board of Commissioners of Vermilion County that it is necessary to put into effect certain measures, including temperature checks and denying visibly ill persons entry to the courthouse to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Now be it ordained and enacted by the Vermilion County Commissioners that Section 1, to prevent the spread of COVID-19, all people coming to the Vermilion County Courthouse will be subject to a temperature check. Section 2, to prevent the spread of COVID-19, employees of the Vermilion County Courthouse are authorized to deny the entry to the Vermilion County Courthouse to any visibly ill persons. Section 3, to prevent the spread of COVID-19, courthouse deputies will be allowed to ask people about their current health status and bar entry to anyone who has been exposed to COVID-19, is experiencing symptoms of COVID-19, or refuses to answer questions about their current health status with regard to COVID-19. Should any section, paragraph, sentence, clause, or phrase of this ordinance be declared unconstitutional or invalid for any reason by any court of complete jurisdiction, such provision shall be deemed servable, and the remaining portions of this ordinance shall remain in full force and effect. All ordinances or parts of ordinances or resolutions that are inconsistent with the provisions of this ordinance are repealed to the extent of such inconsistency. So since this has been ongoing for a month, I would be in favor of passing County Ordinance 2021-11, making a motion to pass County Ordinance 2021-11. Oh, amendment, sorry.
That's not on.
I'll second the motion.
Discussion. Anybody got any discussion or questions about why we're doing this? I think it's the minimum we can do. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Illegal dumping ordinance.
I think we've had an issue with illegal dumping for several years in the county, and I think John and we briefly talked about, always wanted to have a county ordinance to, fine people for this, because some people just feel like county roads or even state roads are their own personal dump zone. So I'd like to read this for first reading today, if that's all right with you guys. County Ordinance number 2021-12, illegal dumping ordinance. an ordinance finding those who dump their trash illegally on county roads or private property. Whereas it has been brought to the attention of the Board of Commissioners of Vermillion County that enforcing littering laws is currently difficult and an ordinance establishing fines when a person's trash is illegally dumped is needed. If trash is found illegally dumped on any county road or private property and contains items that reveal the identity of the individual whom the trash belonged to, the individual will be fined $500 per occurrence. That it will not be a defense to claim that the trash was entrusted to a third party who illegally dumped it. Should any section, paragraph, sentence, clause, or phrase of this ordinance be declared unconstitutional or invalid for any reason by any court of competent jurisdiction, such provision shall be deemed severable, and the remaining portions of this ordinance shall remain in full force and effect. All ordinances or parts of this ordinance or resolutions that are inconsistent with the provisions of this ordinance are repealed to the extent of such inconsistency. So I would leave that until maybe next meeting and see if anybody's got any recommendations for changes or.
I have a question. That one says that if we find information that ties the whatever articles to a person, that can we do that? I understand how it reads, but can we really do that?
Yeah, I think I had another ordinance from another county. I forget what it was called, but theirs was worded a lot more stricter than that. But theirs was basically, you know, if I paid you to go take out the trash, you know, take my trash out, and then you throw a bag or a bag flies out, I'm responsible for it, even though I paid you to do it. So it's if I have a receipt in there or something, it's how they track down who. You know.
I've seen it in other counties. I just didn't know how, if it was.
Yeah, I'd imagine it's.
The intent was to get around the fiction of someone who just throws their garbage in the ditch, and when someone goes to investigate, they go, oh, I paid some random person who came to my door to take my garbage to the dump, and I didn't know that they were going to throw it in the ditch. It's meant to be an end run around that. I would assume if somebody could legitimately prove that they really did pay someone to take their garbage and that person illegally dumped it, that they would probably successfully challenge the ordinance. But it's meant to get the liars.
Yeah.
So.
Sure.
That's
just a question.
Yeah, first reading, yeah.
Thank you. That'd be a good ordinance.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if $500 is enough, but it's a start.
Something.
Who would get that money?
I think it goes in the general fund.
Okay.
I mean, you can direct it somewhere if you want to.
Maybe we could direct it to like countywide cleanup days or something.
Yeah, you could do that if you wanted to.
Or solid waste, yeah, to use for cleanup days.
So we'll have bring it up for a vote next meeting.
Next meeting, yeah.
Comment ordinance.
Yep.
Would we need to add where the monies should be going, John?
You can do that if you
can
want
add
to
that.
specifically direct it to some fund. You can add
I
a
think
clause to do
Yeah,
that.
we can bring it up and maybe.
Yeah,
take
I think
it.
directing to like solid waste would be a good idea.
Does the council have to agree with anything like that? That's a fine or whatever?
I don't think so. If you're directing the fine to go to a specific item, I don't think that they have to agree to that.
Okay.
Yeah, I would be in favor of adding that to that ordinance, John, about directing it to the solid waste district.
Okay, moving right along. Since it's not on here, I don't think it's on here. We might want to. Penny Talks Away Days coming up.
Yes, October the
Can you
9th.
say something real quick and I'll let you go? I don't mean to make you jump
I
up and
wasn't
down.
prepared for Talks Away Day.
Well, it's not on there. I thought it'd make it nice to make a.
We're, Solid Waste is hosting Talks Away Day on October the 9th from 9 to 1. And it will be held at the north entrance to the Rise, in the parking lot there next to the gate, to the guard shack. They'll come in, dump, and then right back out so we can have easy traffic flow.
Did you respond to cleanup days? We got cut short last time, didn't we? The cleanup days that we just had?
I don't have all the information back, but I do have, back here. We did have another event in September. Countywide cleanup was September 17th and 18th. It was a good event. It was hot, very hot. But with Wallace, we started out with 3 dumpsters at each garage for debris and 1 for mattresses only. We ended up using a total of 15 dumpsters through Wallace, with a total of 53.94 tons of debris that did not end up along our county roads. Recycle Force provided 24 Gaylords. We didn't need that many. This is the first time we haven't had TVs sitting on the ground in piles. We ended up turning in 5,591 pounds of electronics to Recycle Force, which is like a third of what we did in April. So maybe we're getting rid of, finally coming to a leveling out spot on those old TVs.
Yeah.
Sugar Creek scrap, we had 4 dumpsters, 2 at each garage. I have not heard back from them on what tonnage they've collected. Green Valley, we had 2 dumpsters at garage number 1. They collected 15.32 tons. We collected TV and mattress fees for the weekend was $630. And at garage 1, we had 12 mattresses, and according to the receipt book, 12 mattresses, 15 TVs. In garage 3, we had 13 mattresses and 18 TVs. So, and again, we had the no contractors and the 3 load limit and the fee on the mattresses, and no one complains about the fees. They're glad to have a place to get rid of them. So, and the Talks Away ad is running in the Clintonian, so make people aware of that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Appreciate Penny and everybody that was part of that big success.
Yeah, especially the highway workers. I know they definitely got burned up. I know in my garage they definitely a little hot out there, 90 degrees.
Okay, moving right along, ambulance run total for August 2021.
Doesn't look like Eric's here. We had a total in August, a reported total of, I think, 121 runs that were serviced. And times are on here. The average time has been 8.07 minutes. Right, I'm sorry. Yeah, 8.07 minutes. It's a little bit higher than what we've had in the previous months on the running average of this. I'm not exactly sure why it's a minute longer, but if we went back and analyzed probably where the locations are, that would maybe answer, but I don't have an answer for that right now.
Is there any way so he's sending you a report once a month?
This has been a standing report that's been required
Does that show last year's calls it runs on it too?
Not on this one.
This is 2021.
Be nice if he could include that comparison of the year before.
I'm sure he has some, or the auditor's office has them.
I think
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you on the number of runs.
121, and the average run time, or response time, not run time, response time of 8.07 minutes. If you wish, I can give this to you. If anybody's interested in look at this, it gives you a breakdown of by general location, i.e. Cayuga, Newport, etc.
Joe, we're going to move on. Baker Tilly draft report will be available October the 4th, so we don't have it yet.
The report will be available next Monday, October 4th, according to what Baker Tilly has responded to. That's the ambulance audit, basically, or what we call an audit anyway.
You want to do anything with his bids on this County Road 1150 South?
We need to discuss that. The bids came in at, we had 4 consider the installation of the culvert. We did receive 2, one from White for $100,000 even, I believe it was, and then $96,000 even from Kenizer Excavating. This gets back, I don't know if you've been down the road or not. Do we want to spend this amount of money on a culvert on a minor, probably a tertiary road, if you will? I guess that's the discussion, or I would like to have some input anyway as to whether we should replace this culvert. We did order the culvert. It is going to be in, actually it's available this last Friday. If we award this, then the contractor will be responsible for its delivery to the site, so we don't rehandle.
That road is shut down, correct?
It is shut down on both sides.
Both sides.
Right, at the creek. It's a tribute or undefined tributary to Norton Creek. So our money. We have a number of items with Clark Dietz that are coming up, that's what bothers me a little bit. We've got some these are considered critical issues. We haven't got to that part yet, but we have some critical issues that have, on our bridges alone, these are not culverts but bridges that need attention also.
Right.
I think even though we need to, if we're going to put it in, we need to get it in now. But I'm not comfortable that we have the monies to spend on we haven't defined what these monies are yet for these critical items for the bridges. And I don't know that we consider that 1150 South as critical as these bridges are. And I'm a little concerned that we haven't analyzed what funding we have available for us yet this year and spend this amount of money for
Do you want to like
this
table it
location.
until we can sit down with Melissa and go over the funding and prioritize which bridge or? I mean, you already ordered the culverts. I mean, I don't have a problem putting it in, but I mean, if you want to prioritize.
I think we need to know where we stand on these line items. If we don't have enough money, the bridges are more critical than this culvert, put it that way. There's not a single bridge here that's not more critical than that culvert.
Yeah.
And if these total up to take all of our money, I don't know that we should be spending it on that at this point in time. That's my recommendation is not, I think, is to hold off on this until we get an assessment of what monies are going to have to be spent on these critical line items.
I agree with
would prefer that. Anyway.
I agree too. Okay, so we're going to get more information, right?
Yes.
Okay. Next up, new business.
One part of that, though, it did fall within the appropriations that we have for that culvert, so it's within so that's not a problem. It's just a matter of how are we going to appropriate our monies. So.
Very good. Chrissy Gerald, Small Business Grant, you're next.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So this is our final public hearing for the county's COVID-19 Phase 3 OKRA grants to small businesses. This is just a requirement that we have to do. So here to report to the public that the county went in for the grant, received $250,000. The BCDC actually paid the match money of $6,250 that went towards administration. And then there were 38 businesses in the county that received about $6,578.95. So that was amazing that you guys were able to help the businesses out during this pandemic. After today's public hearing, I will do the public hearing minutes, get those over to Brenda, and then your closeout document will be submitted today, and we will get the project closed out. The only requirement after closeout of the project is all 38 businesses have to report on to their status of how many employees they have and, you know, whether they're full or part-time. It's a form they filled out in the original application. And so both Lynn and I will actually be working on that, and they have to turn that in later this year and next year, and then we'll be done with the requirement.
So that's something you're taking care of. The county don't have nothing to do.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, I mean, you are the lead applicant, so.
Right.
So yes, yeah, that'll all be taken care of for you, so we'll make that reporting gets done. Yep. And then as soon as OKRA issues the final certificate of completion, the whole file, actually paper filed, will be mailed to Brenda with my name, number, and contact information on top of there, so that way when you do have a A133 audit, everything will be there, and if the auditor needs to contact me, they can call me directly. So
Those that do not comply with the requirement of filing the paperwork, will they have to pay that back or what?
no, they have to comply, and we'll make sure they comply.
Okay. Just don't want to be.
Yeah, there's no
Take
ifs,
care
ands,
of
or buts.
that.
They actually, each business signed a contract, which I'm sure you signed 38 contracts, so they have to comply by that, so, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
These businesses they have to report this as business income. If for some reason a business closes down from the time they got the money until the time we report, that's fine. We just report that their business is closed down. That's not a big deal. They really didn't set too many requirements for the grant, so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does the public have any questions about the grant, or? No? I want to thank Lynn. She was a big help to me with this grant as well as Brenda. So,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you very, very much.
And then, if I may, I don't know if it's appropriate, but may I address you about your comprehensive plan with the grant with OKRA?
How long will it take?
3 seconds.
Okay.
Okay. Jonathan from HWC Engineering, Jonathan Smith, and myself, we've been emailing back and forth with Penny. We're trying to set up a meeting. But I just want to really reiterate the importance that you guys are the lead applicant on this grant. This grant has a red mark against it at Okra. We have put in 2 timeline extensions thus far. They will not give us any more timelines. Okay, so my recommendation is we have a plan, we have the draft plan. It takes Okra anywhere from 60 to 90 days to review that plan. We have a draft plan. I suggest, and Jonathan's making all the suggestions that have been given to him so far. I know that Penny's group is kind of holding on to some comments. We really need to get comments in because you guys might have to pay back $50,000, and I don't want you to have to do that on this grant. We have to stay into the timelines. Okra did see the advertisement in the newspaper publicly about the counties putting this on hold to address other things. It was a whole write-up. Okra does watch local newspapers, so they have brought that to my attention. So I just want to reiterate that we really need the plan. Once he gets those changes made in October, we need to submit that draft plan to Okra. It's going to take about 90 days to review. And then it needs to be passed by the commissioners, and then any changes after that's really going to have to be up to you guys to make those changes. HWC will not only give you 10 copies of the plan, but they will also give you a digital file that you can actually make corrections on as you go. Because this plan should actually be a living plan. So,
Yeah. I think, oh, go
We're
ahead.
meeting on the 12th and the 26th. Do you know when we might have that ready so we can have it on their agenda?
The 12th, well, here's the thing, we can't pass the plan until Okra approves the draft plan. So that's going to be at least 90 days from submittal.
An area plan, Penny Carpenter area plan, and I have several members here, we have asked for the latest update for the September meeting. So, because we knew we were finishing up with wind, so we could give it to the area plan members so they could have a chance to review it. We have not yet received that, and
which I think that was just asked for, so.
I've got
Correct.
verification of emails that it was asked for before the September meeting. So, area plan is not, and they're here, they can speak. They're not happy with the way the comprehensive plan reads as it was presented. So, I don't, he wants me
Yeah,
to-
man. Well, just for the minutes and everything, so.
I mean, the maps were wrong. There were railroads on the maps that are no longer in existence. And they have several of our comments, and we have asked for updated drafts. We have not received those. I've been on my email this morning, but I didn't check to see if I had anything from them. And I don't know I don't know that they're going to pass it. I don't know if they're going to approve that comprehensive plan.
So here's the thing, this is not I understand your group is involved, and I completely get that, but the commissioners are the lead applicant. You guys are required by Okra federal and state regulations that your board has to pass it by resolution in order for us to close the grant out. If we do not comply, Okra's giving us no more timelines. You will pay back $50,000, and you will pay the remainder out of local funds because you're under contract with HWC. And then after that, any changes can be made at the county level. But I'm letting you know, it's either we comply by the federal and state regulations and we do this, or we're going to deobligate the grant. Then you've already paid 60% to HWC with grant funds. You will pay that back to the state of Indiana, and then you will also pay the remaining 40% back.
How much money is involved in this that's actually county money and not grant money? Is there, what matching is there with that?
Yes, it was, I believe $5,000 was the local match on the project, and the total project, well, the grant was $50,000.
Okay.
I would like to give a little bit of history on this. When this first come before area plan, it was presented from economic development. And we questioned at several meetings, is this a comprehensive plan for Vermilion County, or is this an economic development comprehensive plan? We were told multiple times that it wasn't ours as far as area plan's comprehensive plan. So we went months back and forth like that. A lot of time was wasted. I also want to bring up to your attention, and I know none of the three commissioners here know, but John does, S.K. Wilson. Last time we had a comprehensive plan and it wasn't done properly. There was quite a large lawsuit and a lot of money spent.
I do know that, speaking with engineers, they do feel that you know, people are holding on to comments and that it's, I mean, I'm just your grant administrator. I just administer the grant. So, I mean, and this is secondhand information. So, and I'm just trying to keep you on a timeline and keep you moving. But it's been difficult for them. They've tried to make changes. They've tried to do meeting, and they feel like they're kind of stuck because they're still waiting on other comments back that are being held on to.
I don't, all the comments
I
I
don't know.
have, she has. She's got, that have been given to me.
I don't have comments. I'm not
Well,
the
Jonathan
engineer.
Smith does. Jonathan and Eric.
Yeah.
They're not related, by the way.
Yeah. So I just want to make sure, I just want to let you be aware that we are in danger. We're in a red zone. We've got to keep moving. So I will call Jonathan Smith today and make sure, I will let you know by email what he says and when he's going to get those comments.
And I would have liked for all of you, Eric, Jonathan, you, to be at the October, I think it's the 12th meeting?
Well, I am out of the country at that point, so I'm not going to be able to be at that meeting.
Okay.
That's why I'm addressing you here for timeline requirements.
Well, I trust the APC to do a good job. I mean, I'm not sure they're going to look at a comprehensive plan and send one to us that's incorrect or have things in it, and I've, you know, talked to them with their frustration, so hopefully HWC can get it together with the APC and we can meet the deadlines, but I have all the faith that they'll get that done.
So I'll give you all an email of update once I talk to Jonathan today.
I have a question. I think I heard some of this back whenever it first started, and there was a question raised at the time where this was a area comprehensive plan that the county was going to adopt, i.e. through the APC, basically an area plan commission document, to update ours. When it was presented, and Lynn, you may have to step up here, I may be misrepresenting this, but when Dylan was here, I believe he presented that as, no, it has to be done in order to qualify for other grants, so we have to have this plan put together.
Well, when Dylan was here, the reason he approached the county about doing a comprehensive plan was mainly because he had the idea of maybe having the county apply to Stellar, which is a big pot of money through OKRA, where you can get NDOT, USDA, SRF, IDNR, all kinds of money. And so that was kind of his big overarching goal, was to kind of set the county up maybe for applying to that and tapping into those big dollars. So.
But I think Penny interjected at that time, or someone did, and again, my recollection may not be correct here, but she stepped in and said, this can't be an area plan, that has to be developed by the Area Plan Commission.
So I think also, and that's something I believe Jonathan Smith and Eric Smith have tried to relay to everybody, a comprehensive area planning commission plan and comprehensive plan and a comprehensive plan that OKRA's looking at might be totally two separate things, which they should, all plans should be incorporated and mold into one to make sure that we get all the resources and we're looking at everything. But, you know, we do have a grant agreement signed with the state, so I just want to keep you guys on a timeline and moving.
Is there a possibility here, Penny, that this is just a cog in the wheel for a comprehensive area plan and that it's not our I don't know why we're adopting this as a comprehensive area plan that wasn't developed by our area planning commission.
Correct.
This may be something that can be introduced into that plan, but maybe we have to approve this as an economic development tool.
This is not an economic development plan because OKRA has several planning grants available. One is economic development, which they've actually kind of got rid of now. One is a comprehensive plan and other utility studies. So by OKRA standards, this is called an comprehensive plan. We could actually, for OKRA purposes, call it a comprehensive plan, but for the county purposes, we could rename it so it could merge into your document once you're happy with the.
I think that may be a way in which we may want to approach this, because I'm not so sure that it's been appropriate how it's been stated anyway, or how it's been understood, or whatever the case may be.
I believe in research, the comprehensive plan for the area plan the steering committee needs to be area plan members. And the steering committee of this was I was the only one, I think Bob Alexander, there were two of us on the steering committee. So, I mean, we've kind of been up against the wall from the beginning on it, and I think we need to work out the details.
So OKRA's requirements, the comprehensive plan steering committee is county commissioners, because you're the lead applicant of the
Sure, I
project.
understand.
And then expect your group, other groups in the county public. So I think the confusion might lie in what we're calling this plan. I can actually send you guidance from OKRA showing exactly what they consider a comprehensive plan, and I think that word comprehensive is where it's tripping everybody up.
Where we end up with this, what is OKRA's expectations once we adopt this plan, if we adopt the plan? What is the expectations of using that plan?
Okay, so let's do scenarios. If you don't adopt the plan, then you violate your grant agreement. You will pay back $50,000. Okay, but if you do pass the plan, then the project will close out. And this plan should be a living, working document where you can constantly update it, or, once you knock off a project or knock off something, you can update the plan. It is something that needs to be continuously worked on.
So OKRA expects us to use the plan once it's adopted then?
I'm gonna be quite honest, a lot of communities do plans and they don't even use them. It's up to the elected officials how they use that, if they use it and how they use it.
Back to my question though, OKRA expects that plan to be used when we receive it then, or once we adopt it?
They would hope. The hope is, they're
No
gonna give you-
requirement though?
There's no requirement,
Okay.
but their hope is that they gave you $50,000. They're hoping that you get information out of this
Sure.
and that you can use it. Yeah.
Okay, so much for 3 seconds.
Sorry, 3
right?
seconds. Sorry.
Can I just add something real quick onto that?
Can you send us a letter on this?
A letter. I can send you the printout of.
Yeah, the update, just something
Yeah.
I'd like to have in hand.
Okay. Lynn Brewer, Economic Development. We are in the stages of hiring a firm to do a strategic plan. We are hoping to use this comprehensive plan as a springboard to do that plan as well. So we're looking to use that plan once it's complete.
And I believe you'll have economic development elements in there as well.
Right, correct.
Where you can develop areas in the county for, site ready and things like that.
So yes, it will be used because we're hoping to use it as soon as
When
it's
is that supposed to come about?
We have a meeting tomorrow night on choosing the firm that we're going to go with and hopefully start the strategic plan the first of the year.
Okay. We'll go on to another topic, but that may be it's an issue with me with economic development at this point, so.
You'll have to let us know because we're moving forward.
Lynn, while you're there, go ahead and make an announcement about a new director, if you want to.
Oh, yes, we have a new executive director starting October 1st, Douglas Hess. He's,
Just wanted to make that public announcement.
yeah,
You have an open
pretty excited. I'm sorry?
house? You have an open house or something?
Yes, we do have an open house on October 4th from 5 to 7, if anybody wants to come and meet him. He's from the area, has been all his life. He's lived up in Fort Wayne the last few years with the job that he had, but his family stayed back here, so he's happy to get back into the county. So we're real excited to have him. So if anybody wants to come meet him, you're welcome to. Eric, we'd love to see you there. Thank you.
Okay, we need to move on in this meeting. It's getting quite lengthy. And so if there's anything that any of you want to postpone the next meeting, it's totally up to you. But to go down through here and then.
I'm running out of my agenda.
Change of commissions meeting, I think that's something we can talk about and come back next meeting, a little more discussion on that. Is it okay, Britton? We can think about it by next meeting, talk more about this.
The format change you have on there?
Yeah, that's fine.
We'll just let that go for now. I'm just saying because we've been here quite long. Topic discussion, appointment ARP committee. I think these committees things here. Broadband committee, there is no broadband committee. We formed a group called, I guess called ad hoc, is that how you say it?
That's a good word for it, ad hoc.
To gather information about broadband possibilities. I thought it'd be good to have a group that would be from volunteers first, and then once I see who really wants to participate in that committee, then I can bring back recommendations to the commissioners to make that an official committee. So right now we're just gathering information and trying to figure out some things on broadband. So that's the only one I'm going to say anything about. The board and committee appointments, we do need to make that public. It's applied by 11/1. Is that the deadline we're going to have on that, or is it going to have a 12/1? I thought it would be later than that.
Yeah, I don't have the second page of this agenda. What was the question?
On the appointments, county board appointments, that's gonna be, what's the deadline, will be 12/1, not 11/1?
This is for applications.
Yeah.
We don't have to make a decision until January 1st of 2022, but we wanted to open up, or at least what we had discussed at one time earlier in the year, was opening this up to people that were interested in particular positions. We have an application online that they would fill in, and this tells what positions, what I have is, or what I sent to y'all, was what positions were open that were county commissioner appointments, and then it also listed other appointments like the mayor of Clinton, I can't think of the others, but anyway, there's a number of different appointments that are being made by different entities, and it shows that as well. But what I was hoping to do is put that on the website of what was open, or what was coming open for appointments, and either that we were going to be reappointing the same individual on there, or somebody wants to make application.
Okay, but it says apply by 11/1. I thought it would probably be like a 12/1 deadline for applying.
Oh,
Open it up.
okay.
He's saying open it up on.
Yeah.
You're saying
yeah.
open it on 11/1?
But it says apply by.
Yeah.
We have to have time to be able, whatever you want. The timeframes are just artificial timeframes.
We're gonna move on to the vehicle thing, and unless you really got something you interject in that part, because we're running out of time.
The only thing is the 4 committees, I think we need to go to formal committees and appoint those for medical, for general insurance, and the broadband, and for the ARP. That those should be county appointments to be able to assign responsibility and expect reporting to come back to the commissioners. Now, whether we do that now or next meeting, whatever, but we need to do it sooner than later.
Yeah, I know I guess John, it'd be another ad hoc committee, but the insurance has had a committee of the auditor, a council member, an HR, a member of the courthouse, and one commissioner for, I guess, the last, I don't know. Ashley, has it been several years? At least 5 years, and I believe that committee has always done all the legwork, the due diligence, and then made a recommendation to the commissioners in the fall, maybe, Ashley, is that right, or spring? When do they make the recommendation?
Usually in the spring. We can't get the actual plan updates until about a month or 2.
Sure, I come So really, that committee is not appointed, it's just an ad hoc committee, right?
What I'm saying is I don't believe that we should have ad hoc committees because they don't provide a reliable source of individuals, nor do we know if the individuals are even qualified to be or should be the ones that we want on those committees for that matter.
Well, I don't have a problem with those who
I
are
would
on
have
it.
to-
I think it's a good choice, but I mean, I'd like to do it so it's
I mean, if we want to change the wording from ad hoc and actually make it an official committee, I still think it should stay the 5-member committee that it has been with.
It's actually never been just 5. We've also opened it up to anyone who wants to come to the meetings. A lot of times at the meetings we address concerns, if there are any. We evaluate what's going on with our insurance. Anyone's always welcome to come in and listen. A lot of times Jackie will bring us information, updates. I guess we've never turned anyone down from being in there. So if you had an opinion or you wanted to come in, you were always welcome to. I mean,
And actually, you're
the committee doesn't necessarily make the decision.
But you do all the legwork,
We do all the legwork, the research. Jackie does most of the research, obviously.
Yeah.
But I guess as far as a committee making the decision and being appointments, I'm not sure that's totally necessary because I don't know.
Well, has there been any issues with it since you served on the committee?
No, I mean, with the insurance itself
Yeah,
or the
the
committee?
insurance. Well, the insurance, the recommendations of the commissioners, I mean.
Every now and then someone will, but I think sometimes it's lack of information of them knowing who to contact or what to do with it. And anytime we turn to Jackie, I know Anita's called her in the past, Jackie's taken care of it. We've sent out questionnaires or questions from the employees to ask if they've had problems. We got a lot of feedback, but not negative. It was all positive. There might have been maybe one instance, and Jackie took care of it. So yeah, I think sometimes once people know that they have someone to contact, it resolves the problem. I don't have any complaints. Like I said, we're very open with anything, with all the plans, with all the decisions.
So you'd be opposed to us saying get rid of this ad hoc committee and doing a complete new one and doing something completely different than we have done.
Why break or fix it if it's not broken?
I mean, everyone's been always welcome to come voice their opinions or their, concerns. So we've never left anyone out. And I think if you have a committee, maybe some of those voices won't be heard.
The problem I have is that last year I asked for information and it ended up we had no information. And the decision making wasn't, there was no minutes, it was by recall, almost 100, well, I think all of it was recall. I thought I was being stonewalled last year. It's just that nobody had the information to be able to provide.
There was information available, and you asked for a report of everything that we looked at, and for us to write a report of every single plan, every single option, every single incident that ever happened, we'd have a 20-page report and not get no progress. If all that information, we told you that if you would like to see all the different plans that Jackie looked at, you can go to her office. I've done it before. I've sat down with her, she showed me everything she's done, all the different options, things she does to understand it.
Well, she didn't offer that to me.
She did offer that to you.
The thing about it is when you have a committee like this, I think the more input you can get from more people who volunteer to give their thoughts, I think it works better.
Well, and I think they've done a good job in the past inviting people here, and I think the county has good insurance. I mean, I think, to dismantle something like this just isn't.
It's not dismantling an ad hoc committee. You can't dismantle an ad hoc committee.
The thing about it is,
Britton, I understand. Go ahead, Tim.
The thing about it is, they're powerless anyway. I mean, you got to look at it. They're powerless. They cannot make decisions. All they're bringing is recommendations. So I'd say I'm happy for them doing what they're doing because they're not making a final decision. These people are researching and bringing back information for us to look at and make a decision. And
well, I'll reiterate, I believe that it should be a formal committee so that we have expectations that we know who's going to provide something or nothing. But at least we have responsibilities. If they want to have other people sit in, but we should have somebody that actually reports back to us.
You have a commissioner that always attends.
And the other problem I have is that everyone that's on this committee so far is a stakeholder in it. There is nobody on here. They're voting on their own, or they're recommending their own insurance, their own compensation, their own rates. There's not anything being brought in that is looked at from another viewpoint.
Well, I think we could encourage someone to attend that would be from the public. I agree with that. I mean, the taxpayer ought to have a voice in here and be able to see that, and I'd encourage that. I mean,
nothing in county government's not open to the public. They can call the auditor's office and get any information they want. They can call and ask what I get paid. Mark O'Hare gets paid. They can call and ask, what anybody gets. Yeah, same with benefits. But no, I mean, to say that, this, I guess, Britton, one of your words in the email was, the committee was biased because they're, receiving benefits. I'm not sure anybody that's doing their due diligence like Ashley or maybe Paige or whoever is going to spend, I don't know how many hours you guys spend meeting.
I think calling it bias, it attacks our integrity somewhat because we are very diligent.
I didn't call you biased.
I know. We are very diligent. We have not increased the insurance budget in the last 5 years since I've been here. So we have made sure to stay within our numbers. We even implemented the HSA plan, which saves the county money. It may cost the employee more for their out-of-pocket expenses. We've made measures that benefit the county too. So we try to look at every single option available and not just own interest.
There's an inherent bias though, because you're part of that process, you're benefiting from that process or from that goal,
then,
whatever you're going to.
If that's the case, then there is an inherent bias in every single account that we do for council hearings.
Well, exactly.
During our budget, the 1,000 accounts. Should I give the highway more money for paved roads since I live on a paved road? I mean, that could be considered bias. Everyone has an interest in it, even the taxpayers, because it's taxpayer money. So to say there's not an unbiased person on any account in the county, it's not possible.
And I agree, that's why it's biased.
Well, we can, next meeting, we'll make a decision on some of these. We'll come up and discuss it next meeting more. We have no discussion.
It carries over to these other committees too. It's not just insurance. It's also, we have an ARP which has money's already in there, but yet we don't have it's an ad hoc committee. I don't know what we're going to get from that. So far, I've not got a report.
Well, I mean, back up. I just want to say it this way. If you want people to serve on a committee, you got to give them a purpose to serve on it and give them some respect and that's what I'm trying to do with the broadband committee. I've tried to bring people together that is interested in broadband bring them together, and then once we find out, if we have to make a committee, I have no problem doing it later, but you need people on that committee that's gonna volunteer and to serve and will actually interested, and that's what I'm trying to do. This thing about the insurance, I mean, it's worked to people, they've done well in decision making, and if it's not broke, I'm not interested in breaking it. And
We are
I
always
appreciate
open to ideas and suggestions, and we've talked about those before. I would suggest just coming to the meetings and finding all the information.
And no decision, you guys can't make no decision anyway.
No, we
I
Well,
mean,
no, they do all the legwork that, that it makes the commissioner's decision much easier, I feel like. They do a lot of due diligence, and I appreciate everything they've done over the years.
I say we continue this discussion next meeting. We're running out of time.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you.
We're gonna go on down to the transfer of EM vehicle. Does anyone know about Mark O'Hara's vehicle to assessor's page?
Paige,
It'd be nice if I had another vehicle before we did that.
Paige will need to speak to that.
Paige can come up here.
She made a request that we consider.
I didn't put this on the agenda. I know it's
I
gonna
did.
be some time before Mark gets a new vehicle.
That's okay.
I just heard that if he was gonna get one, my office could use it. We could use the higher ground clearance, and when we're out in the winter time, the 4x4 would
Okay.
be beneficial to us.
What's your plans, Mark?
I got word through the state of Indiana that vehicles for emergency management directors were something that were going to be looked at this year. I've applied the last 3 years, I never got the grant. This vehicle is a special vehicle. It's not another 1,500. It's going to be a 2,500 capable of towing the assets we have. I can't keep asking other people to tow.
But the question is, when you get a new vehicle, the other vehicle is county
Typically,
property.
it goes to the commissioners, you give it to whoever
Okay.
you want, which
Okay.
Paige got the last one, and she got that 9 years ago.
Okay.
And it had 150,000 miles on it when she got it, so she's
Okay.
due for a vehicle.
Well, keep us updated on what happens
There's
there.
no on the grant in November, and then it's a matter of, you can't go buy a vehicle off the lot pretty much right now, they're not around, so find a vehicle.
Okay. Moving on down to update on Wabash River Run rescue practice. We put on the boat race this year, was tremendous success. We had 23 boats. If it hadn't rained, we'd probably had 50. Next year, we'll probably have 100. We raised $10,000 for the Humane Shelter. And then Mark O'Hare and the local emergency management, I was amazed at what they done that day. They had all the paperwork filed with the state, the rescue plan and everything. We had people staged along the area with four-wheelers and stuff, and to me it was amazing, because this year I signed a paper and I wrote the insurance for it, and I took the risk. The insurance man's here can tell you that. So if anything happened on it, it was going to sue me. And I was really amazed at the emergency management services and all the fire departments working together. It was a great event on the river, I think, as far as some type of a training. And we will do it again next year. It will be the weekend before Labor Day weekend. I think Mark said it'd be better to do it that weekend. So that will be coming up next year. Invite everybody to come and get involved in it. But it was a tremendous success. Tremendous success. Okay, we're going to try to get rid of this other stuff pretty quick. The culvert repair on 775 South. You want anything to say about that? Or do you want to? These here probably, you want to put them back into a discussion about what you said earlier about budgeting and figure out what we're going to do?
Well, these are all things, either we as commissioners need to start meeting concerning these, or we're going to have to discuss them in meeting, in this meeting.
What I'm suggesting is you have a meeting planned for next morning, after the morning meeting, if you want to try to do that, and we can start having another meeting separate.
Well, that's what an agenda item was earlier that we were going to possibly discuss that we bypassed for now, so I don't.
Well, I'm suggesting we want to have a work session, work out good for me for after the morning meeting.
Okay.
If that's I don't know with you, with your schedule, if that would be, we need to do it because we got more we need to discuss. So.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it, just depends how long those morning meeting runs. If it runs till 10 or 11 or 12, I can't stay, but if we get out of here a decent time, then yeah, I can do it.
I think what the work sessions will do for us is that it will cut a lot of this down that we're discussing during these meetings. And
I agree.
Yeah,
You want to try to put one for next meeting?
Well, the
The
next
morning?
meeting's an
Morning
evening
meeting.
meeting, and next
Morning,
morning,
yeah.
that'd be
Morning,
fine.
2 meetings, okay.
I think that's something that's a time that's more practical for all of
Yeah.
us. This is what we're here.
Well, what I was proposing is that we do a short meeting, we just approve whatever we have to approve as far as cost items and minutes and whatever.
I think that might be something we could look at next year, starting in January of next year.
Or, yeah, whatever, but that was a consideration, and then then adjourn and go right into a work session.
I agree with you 100%. There's more stuff here we have to do. We need more time. And we don't need to be taking more time up. So we can work on that. So is there anything you need to address on this right now, Britton? Highway F.
The only range line remains closed at this point at Gin Creek, but it should be, by the end of this week, it should be complete, I think, it should be fairly close at this point. We have critical issues that alluded to with Clark Dietz.
Okay.
We have to schedule them. Right now, I think it's kind of back in your court as to a meeting time, Tim. RJ, I don't remember, you said okay with the meeting. But
I'm pretty open.
Right now, it's in your
I got to
court.
work. I think the one, it said something about Friday or something?
I don't remember the date
Okay,
now.
we'll check on it.
But you need to follow up with them and.
Okay. Also, the paving is completed, the community crossing grant is complete in District 1, correct?
By schedule it is, I can't tell you that it is.
Okay, they're getting ready to start in District 2, I think, this week.
They lost 3 days there because of weather, the first 3 days of the program.
DNR about Ernie Powell home. Britt,
Yeah.
I've seen that, and you've seen it too, correct?
They were put on the
Did you see
National
it right there?
Register, and I just want to recognize that for Ernie Pyle, for historical structures, I believe. So, anyway, you might stop by and see the Ernie Pyle home if you haven't done that yet.
Thank you to Dr. Albright. As we said earlier, Dr. Albright has no longer, well, he's staying on until someone else comes, and he's been a 32 years health officer. Appreciate his help. Public comment, I know we got an insurance thing we need to take care of.
Yeah, Chinese too.
Yep. Public comment.
That's probably not under new business. I think we're on the agenda, but I was approached by some residents on South Division Street. It'll be just south of Cayuga, about possibly getting a speed limit put onto that road. Right now, it's currently 55 mile per hour. They were looking at like a 35 to 40 mile per hour range. I feel a 40 mile per hour range would be sufficient. It'll go from County Road 300 north on 50 east onto South Division Street to 400 north, which will be the Cayuga city limits. Once you go into Cayuga on South Division, it drops down to 25 mile per hour.
Yeah, 55 is way too fast right there.
Yes.
Past the liquor store, it's way too
The
fast.
families that are complaining, they have small children, they have school-age kids that are starting to drive, so they're concerned, accidents, kids
So
running out.
any county road is not posted, it's 55?
Yes.
I've asked John to look into a 40 or 45 mile an hour ordinance for roads that are not posted in the county. They came up with another gentleman last week that he wanted his road posted, but if we posted it, it would have been 55 mile per hour.
Yeah.
And I don't know that we have any roads in the county that are designed for a 55 mile an hour speed limit. I don't think we have any. So
If you drive Flatiron, I think there's a lot of people that.
Try 75.
Flatirons, yeah.
It defaults to 55 if it's not posted.
Yeah, it defaults, yeah. I don't think anybody goes under 55 on Flatiron.
No.
To 45?
well, that was a discussion whether it should be 40 or 45 or some other number for that matter. But anyway, I'm pretty sure that we don't have any roads, if we do have one, but 55 mile an hour for any county roads is an issue. We also discussed that if we do make an ordinance, then we need to be looking at making sure that people understand that come in from out of county, from the county lines, that maybe we have that posted at the county line wherever our roads are at 45 miles per hour. That kind of gets back to chicken and egg with our sign things that you're doing, RJ, and the money's allocated for federal funds as to when that might happen. But I would propose that we do a 45 mile or 40 mile per hour.
on all county roads?
Is there advice here from the sheriff's department?
I drive that road every day, and 45 is excessive. 40, I think, is a fair speed limit on that road.
Well, we're talking about.
Would you do
I
like,
drive it every day and I agree. 40
We're talking about a default for the whole
for
county, not just
any
for one
road that's not
road.
marked, do you think 40 or 45 would be?
Unless it's a specific road like this one, I would say 45 would be sufficient.
45.
That's not to say we won't lower them or raise them for that matter.
But for a flat, any road that doesn't have a speed limit, 45.
So we got two questions here, countywide versus your road you're talking about, right?
Yes.
Do not sit on flat iron and get either.
Well, when we go to ordinance, we have a number, I don't know if we have it. I heard that the county commissioners at one time had come back and made a sign ordinance that if we have a sign out there, it's now legal. Where
They
those
did
are.
like a catch-all a few years ago.
And I don't know that that was ever documented of where those signs even existed.
It'll be 50 east from 300 north. It turns to South Division Street at 350 north to 400 north.
But I've had other requests on things, if we're going to piecemeal this, I think it's going to be an issue without having just a comprehensive plan put together. I agree that we should probably lower this as a maximum speed limit for the county for non-marked roads. But I think we need to get our plan together as to what really is our thoroughfares or secondary roads or tertiary roads, and make sure that's consistent across the county. This piecemealing of roads, I guess we can do that if we have an issue. I guess we can do that.
Yeah.
Something we need to decide. Are we going to piecemeal it and then blow it all up and set it something else later on? Or what?
Well, you're always going to have that piece somewhere.
I think ultimately we could do like two separate ones. I think you could do any unmarked road is a 45, drop it 10 miles an hour. Then like Chad said, as issues arise with certain roads, we can bring them in, look at them. Like South Division he's talking about, there is no way that should be 55. There is.
Yeah.
So what do we need
I
to
think
do?
it takes ordinance to be able to do these things.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're going to work on an ordinance. Let's just deal with that issue today. And
Yeah,
then
we can work on that one.
figure out what we're going to maybe put
You
on
said
it.
40, you feel comfortable?
40 is sufficient, yes.
For there?
Anything over that, because if you put it at 45, then they're still going to run 55.
Well,
If
that's
you put
the,
it at
that's the
35
sheriff's department's issue.
Yeah, yeah. But 40 through there is that'd be a sufficient speed.
Okay.
You don't want to put it too low, because then you're just
Yeah.
taking forever, but you don't want it excessive either. So that's my recommendation.
Now
would
with
be
that,
40.
do we have to, you got standard fees, fine fees, right, for so much that's already set up in the court, right?
I don't know that.
Yeah, it'd be a court issue.
If there's a ordinance, then we write it as a state. We can write it state or local as an ordinance violation or speed. I'm not sure how that works. That's something for Mr. Spur there.
I think it's violating a local traffic order. I think there's a state statute for that, but I'll double check it.
So I think you can write it either way, as a state statute or a local ordinance.
Well, we can't write state statutes, but we can write ordinances.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as far as the fines.
Oh.
Doesn't that determine where the money goes, like how that's written?
Yes.
Yes.
Either goes to the county or the state?
Yes. Like, we get, as last time I was informed, we get like $3 off every state ticket, is all we get. If it comes to ordinance, then we get more money off of it.
Of course, all the traffic violations go through the Clinton City Court, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Are we going to ask John to?
Yeah.
I made notes while we were
Yeah.
talking
Okay.
to write those two.
John's good at multitasking, unlike me.
Going along with that too, you were going to propose we have a number of different departments and we don't know who can write contracts and who can't write contracts basically. And so John was going to, I think a nice little ordinance would be and John, go ahead. It looks like you're prepared to say.
Well, yeah, I had it almost ready yesterday. I made a few changes, but it wasn't ready for this morning. But just an ordinance that if somebody other than the commissioners is going to sign a contract, to include within that contract the basis for their authority to sign it, just so that that's all lined out when it's on file with the auditor's office. Here's why this was done as well.
What's this here?
Go from that one, because I know we have one in there already.
I know we're still in public comment, but we have a builder's risk that we need to
Yeah.
consider for the jail also. I should have brought that up during the
Yeah,
jail
you
time, I
wanna-
didn't. I'm sorry,
Well,
George.
Let him go ahead and take care of this and get him out of here.
George Smith, MJS Insurance. Getting with you on builder's risk for the jail. I had secured that through Great American. Builder's risk insurance is going to cost you $1,000 per million. That's just kind of the way that works. Switching gears on you, I want to put this with Travelers, saving you a $15,000 deductible and a couple $100 a year. Builder's risk basically covers your theft of building materials, destruction by covered losses while it's being built.
What type of deductibles on that?
It's a $10,000 deductible except for earthquake, flood, and those are $25,000. And also on release of water or steam is $25,000, but it is a $10,000 deductible on the other part.
Are your recommendations, Travelers?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Thank you.
You got any recommendations, any questions? You overseeing the biggest part of it from that side?
The contracts for the individual, sometimes this is written where the individual general contractors hold their own builder's risk, and that's not the way this contract was written with the individual general contractor, or the individual contractors. And so the county is taking on that role, and so we will be, I recommend that we do accept the Travelers quote for builder's risk insurance.
So
I'll make a
Gormont-
motion accordingly.
Gormont did not cover that, so, in their contract. Or they're not holding themselves liable for anything on the premises and stuff in.
Well, it's a matter of who has the insurance. It's not a liability. It's a matter of who's going to be covered as to if we have a loss. There's two ways of doing it. One is the contractor, each individual contractor does it. Cumulatively, that is a kind of a mess if we have a loss. It's because you'll probably have multiple contractors, multiple claims, multiple entities being involved if we have a loss. The other way is that the county, as the owner of the project, carries the builder's risk, and then if there is a loss on any of these line items, then the county recovers that minus the deductible for those losses. We should have builder's risk for the cost of it. If we have any type of loss, it will be more than pay for this type of insurance that's available.
I'll second Brenton's motion.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Thank you, George.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Okay, we're at about the end of this meeting. Anybody else?
Penny's got something.
And there's,
Got my hand up,
there's
sorry.
other public comment, and
Yeah.
I'm sorry about the public comment. We had some other business.
I'm gonna sit on the end next time. I was just wondering, since that text went out about COVID pay, if
Oh,
you
yeah,
guys
that's
had,
a good thing. I forgot to have that.
follow
on.
up with that.
Yeah,
I
we talked last meeting, Tim, about having a discussion about potentially reinstating the COVID relief that we ended May 31st, I believe. I think we ended it with 80 hours. Well, I think it was 80 hours of COVID pay. I've done a poll. I think I sent it to Brent. I don't know if I sent it to you, but overwhelming. I'm not gonna say overwhelmingly, but I think there's a slight majority that would like to see it reinstated. The health department's made a recommendation that it should be. HR's made a recommendation it should be. There is a little bit of discussion on whether it should just be 40 hours or 80. I'm not opposed to either, but I do think we risk certain people not going getting tested and coming into work sick because they don't have a lot of time to use and they're going to just come in. They just and I've had that with some county employees willing to come into work, you know, and I've had to tell them at the highway garage you can after they've tested. So my recommendation would be we re-implement it. The HR's got some criteria like Anita had, and you know it had to be a doctor's note or a doctor's test. It couldn't be, you know, you saying you have it and that's it. You have to meet some criteria with it. But I'd like to see it be reinstated for the time being. I guess I would push for the 80 hours, but if you guys would like to cut it to 40, I wouldn't be opposed to that. But I'd like to see the 80 hours be re-implemented.
When you said poll, you meant the department heads, right?
Department heads, and unfortunately and they're not all like this, but there are some department heads that are against it. You know, because they'll say some people will abuse it, but unfortunately that's going to be up to the department heads to, you know, wean out these employees and make sure they're holding true to the criteria they're meeting. And the other side effect of this is county employees like highway department or, you know, sheriff deputies or Annie, for instance, they don't have the luxury of elected officials do that cannot show up for work for 2 weeks or a week and decide not to work. You know, they have that luxury of doing that, and other employees don't. You know, they have a set sick time and set days, and that's it.
Did
So
Mr. Albright make or the Board of Health make a recommendation?
Yeah, that was their recommendation, yeah. Now, I don't think they had a recommendation of, you know, 80 or 40 hours. That's going to be, you know, up to us, but I would recommend the 80 hours, or at least that'd be my motion, would be to re-implement that, and then we can reevaluate it at the end of 60 days.
Guess I'm out of order. You have a motion. You made a motion or not?
I'll make a motion to reinstate the COVID relief for 80 hours. I don't know if you want me to put a date on it and say 60 days, or want to reevaluate it in 30. But I would like to make it retroactive back.
There's a motion. We need to
Yeah.
either second it or...
The motion would be 80 hours, reinstated, and make it retroactive back to when the last
I
COVID
still want
pay
to
ended.
discuss things and.
Well, we need
That's
to
fine.
second or it dies, or then we
Okay.
discuss. Or you
I'm not
withdraw
ready to
the
second
motion.
it, so.
Okay, that's fine.
You are?
I'm not.
Oh.
I'm still on top.
Okay, well,
I
then the
could-
motion dies, and we'll have to come back to it.
That's fine.
Go ahead and talk.
I have no problem with helping out employees that are not covered during this time. I mean, it makes sense, but, you know, I also have a problem with it, things being abused. And I'm not saying everybody does, but there has to be, are you contented with the stuff that they have in place that will take care of that?
I think so, because the department heads I've talked to, you know, some of the ones that have complained that people have abused it, I think that's a position that those department heads need to take up with their employees, because these other department heads, they had no issues with people abusing it. So I'm not quite sure where the abusing was taking place, besides somebody saying, oh, I was in contact with somebody, but I mean, it strictly says if you don't have symptoms, you know, you're supposed to be at work, you know, so I don't know.
Some of the arguments have been from the ones that are not necessarily in favor of this, department heads that is that people have so many sick days and so many vacation days or personal days. I'm not sure exactly how all that mixes together, but that as soon as they get a day, they're taking it. And so there's not, even if there's sick days are not necessarily accounted for as really sick days. I'm not sure if that's really the right terms that we have for them. But some employees just, if they have time, it's used immediately. I guess that's their discretion, but they're not necessarily planning for. I ran into that problem when I was with the company. I had probably $26,000 worth of sick time. Well, I lost it when I retired. Because others used it all, and I know they weren't sick. They were doing other things.
Yeah.
But so it kind of gets back to individuals, how they view their time. I don't know if that helps anything or not, but that's some of the arguments going back and forth.
It just, I don't want to see people coming to work or be steered away from going and getting tested and quarantining because they're short on sick time or they're short on vacation time, or they may be having a surgery come up and they're going to have to burn that other time for that.
Do we know how many hours were used the last time this was implemented, or if?
We can probably find that
I'm
out.
sure HR could give us. I think Leanne called me yesterday and said she had an exact number of employees. It wasn't overwhelmingly, but it was still a lot that were wondering, hey, is the COVID relief going to be reinstated because I've got this going on, and you know, then they're playing, you know, it's like a catch-22 with them. They're wondering.
Well, I was quarantined last year, but I worked the whole time I was at home, so.
Yeah.
Not everybody
That
has.
was back when all that happened, but I was counted towards COVID pay.
Yeah.
John, is there such thing as a hardship case if we run into somebody that?
You mean like granting somebody a special
Can
exemption?
you do that even, or does it have to be carte blanche
No,
across
I
the
think
whole
you could
county?
take things on a case-by-case basis if you wanted to, and just say if there's a hardship case, refer it, and you'll consider it.
Could we maybe handle it that way, of if they have a hardship case, that it be reported to Leanne for HR or whatever you want to call it, to be considered? Just discussion, I don't know.
I just think there ought to be a little more of a responsibility here somewhere. One elected office holders, you want to come up here? She's got something she wants to say about it.
I just have one.
You got to come up here. No exceptions, sorry. I'm
No
getting better.
exceptions till we have exceptions.
Getting better.
We'll get there one of these years.
Florinda Pruitt. I just have one question. Where does the money come from? Because it's my understanding from the auditor that there is no COVID money left. So where does money come from?
Good point.
Good point.
Out of the treasurer's budget.
Don't look at me like that, but it can.
You said out of the ARP money if we wanted
Yes,
to.
it can.
Yeah, it can, you know,
But it can.
that is a legitimate use.
Aren't we, Bud? Seriously?
Jess, seriously. For the record,
Then
is it important enough for you to speak? You gotta come up here and
Okay.
speak.
Penny, just sit in the front row.
I'm going to. I'm sitting next to Joe here. We're budgeted for our salary for the entire year.
Right.
So the money's there. It's not like we're getting additional money. Because it did affect me this year because I missed the entire first week of 2021. And right off the bat, I'd lost 40 hours of vacation or sick pay. And I don't have a lot left today because I'm still following up on doctor's appointments. But that's beside the point. Our salaries are budgeted. They're advertised. We're only going to get this amount of money in a year.
Are you salary or hourly?
We're all salaried.
Well, our highway department's not, they're hourly, but
Are we salaried? Where's Miranda?
Elected officials are, I don't know about.
But your salary is set. in the
Yes.
budget.
well, it's a matter of how you're paid. Are you
I get the
paid
same
by the
amount
hour?
every 2 weeks.
So I guess where I get hung up is everybody calls it COVID money. It's not COVID money.
Well, it's based on a COVID, whether you have COVID, it's not whether you got the flu, actually, that's an exception. If you have the flu, that doesn't work.
No.
So it has to be a COVID, according to if they use the same parameters that they had last time, it is strictly a COVID issue. And hours are only allowed for COVID, not for flu, not for other things that might occur. Whether that's right or wrong, that's the way it was done.
That's what it was done first time.
I don't think none of us here, we all agree that this comes up, it needs to be addressed. We just want to make sure it's being addressed properly, right? That's...
Yeah,
I'm not sure there was really a lot of people that had issues with it besides one office holder maybe two I was in a meeting with. But everyone else seemed to, I just don't think people are going to abuse it and say, oh, gosh dang, I want to go out and catch COVID and test positive, and I'm not sure anybody wants to do that.
Right now, I don't know what North School is doing, but South hasn't implemented this. They did that same thing, I think, last year for hourly employees, but this year they're not, well, this period so far, they've not done anything with that. And I don't know about North High School.
Yeah. My personal thing, I need to research it a little more to bring it up next meeting. That's my personal feeling. I'm not against it, I'm just...
That's fine if you want to wait till next meeting.
Yeah.
Lynn Brewer again. I just feel like we're in red right now, so now would be the time that we'd want something in place for our employees to feel comfortable if they need to go to the doctor, to go to the doctor. I know we had a case in our office, she just wasn't feeling good, but luckily her boss said, don't come back until you get tested. She had no clue that it would be COVID with the symptoms she had, and it ended up being COVID. So she had to be off. She doesn't have a lot of time, on sick time, so she kind of had to move things around. But we're in a point right now where we are red, so things are going to be coming up.
Well, regardless, if we make a decision now or make it later, it could still be retroactive, for the days they did have off.
Yeah, people won't know to stay home because they're still scared.
For 2 weeks.
For 2 more, yeah.
What is that guideline for people that have been inoculated? They don't have to quarantine, even though you can be a carrier of it, you don't have to quarantine? Okay.
And you can still come to work and everything else.
But if you worked the whole 2 weeks, my son had it.
It looks like
Department told me I could.
it looks like somewhere around 10% of those are even being hospitalized of the people that are inoculated. So of course, all this is a bit of a mess.
But if they're vaccinated and show symptoms, they have to
If they
quarantine.
show symptoms,
they have
to
to quarantine.
yes.
Do they?
Yeah, that's what the health department got, yeah.
But my son had it for 2 weeks, and I came to work every day. Never took symptoms.
If I was any place on it, I'd say 40 hours, but I wouldn't say the 80 hours.
Well, if you're
What is the quarantine period now? 10 days.
What?
10 days.
Depending on your test.
days, and that includes continuous days, holidays, weekends,
The health department says 10 days on here. Person to serve a 10-day isolation period, regardless of being vaccinated or not, with a positive test.
So 10 days would be...
Well, minus 2, because you'll have
You
a
have the
weekend in there.
So 40, that would cover them for, well, you'd have 5 days, and then
I think
2
I probably agree with you that it shouldn't be an 80. It should probably, if we do anything, it would be a 40, probably. They
Should
may
be
lose a
what?
day. Well, I'm not
Are we just
agreeing with
talking?
anything. I'm just saying if it would be, it'd probably be a 40. If it's a 10-day period, it'd be basically 8 days. You lose a little bit, but we're talking about
wouldn't be-
adding additional benefit here.
Well, I think if you
And do we have
did
ARP monies to pay for it too? I think is another consideration.
If
I don't
we
know what
did-
we've done with it.
We haven't done anything with ARP money. But
Maybe our committee can report back on that.
But the 40 hour, what might be a compromise, 40 hours, and then the rest of it have to be, come under review by us or something.
Well, you just give them
the
the 40 hours, and that's what the commissioners are given for COVID relief.
But still, if you get someone who really gets bad and goes in the hospital, I mean, it's serious, I mean, you still...
I think we need to look at it as a hardship case, is where I'm tending
Yeah.
toward, but
When you say hardship case, who's going to review that and award that? The
it'd be a
HR?
recommendation from HR, I would say.
So let's say back to May 31st, we've had, let's say, 20 cases. HR is going to review 20 cases and make recommendations to us on 20.
Somebody's gonna have to recommend even to get the COVID hours. Somebody's gotta recommend that even. So
Well,
somebody's
I
gonna
know, but
recommend it.
I'm not sure that I like the case by case.
I'm talking.
I know, I'm
this
just,
is
I'm
discussion.
just too.
So, are we gonna make a decision today on this, or what are we gonna do?
Well, if you're in favor of the 40 hours, I would like to give the employees today some assurance that we are implementing something back for them.
I think you have someone wants to speak to. Are we?
Are you wanna talk about the code, about this, or something different?
Well,
Okay.
Are you in favor of the 40 hours?
I would say go with the 40 hours, at least they know they have some.
Well, how long do you want to put it in place till? Do you want to revisit it like 60 days?
You mean to change it, possibly change it?
We'll like take it back, like last time we ran it January to May 31st, and we done away with it then.
So you did by quarters.
So we can.
It's a yearly issue.
Okay, so I mean, if you're in favor of the 40 hours, I'd make a motion to reinstate the COVID pay for 40 hours, retroactive back to May 31st.
With the same conditions?
With the same conditions that were in place then.
Have a second? I'll second it. All discussion? So we can revisit it. This is just for a quarter, right? But it's for the whole year.
What did you say, for what period of time?
To make it retroactive back to May 31st. So you'll have June, July, August.
All the way back to May.
Yeah, well, that's when it.
But still, the limit's only gonna be 40 hours per year, right? When you say 40 hours, you're saying over a year's time?
Would it be better to take just a continuation and not add, are you adding another 40 or just an extension of what we did last spring?
Last
Or
spring it was
year?
80 hours. I'm just saying we're re-implementing it, but it's just 40 hours. It's not like if someone tests positive, it's 40 hours. They have 40 hours of sick time, COVID time, I should say.
Would we consider just extending the period of whether they've used it or not from the previous period? Because most likely they've been immune, or there's a chance they're immune to it from natural immunity, or not natural immunity, but from having it, physically having COVID if they were taking it off. Would it not just be maybe an extension of that period of time, whatever hours they have left? The consideration for discussion. See, if I had it, so I shouldn't
You got a
have,
point.
I shouldn't have a problem. Maybe I do if I don't get a booster. I don't know when that comes into play, but
Some people do that. We've had one that's had it in January,
Twice.
and she had it again in May, so.
well, just talking, just
That's what I'm
discussion. I don't know.
saying. Each individual person's gonna be different.
Of course they are.
Well, I didn't say that, you can't set it like that though, because
Yeah.
whether you have herd immunity or not, some people don't.
Yeah, leave the motion as is.
Okay. You can call for the vote if you wish.
All in favor?
Aye.
Leave them, or get this again. the motion you made, we're trying to,
40 hours for COVID time, retroactive back to when the last one ended.
okay. That's up for vote, right?
Is that onerous on Leanne or on Pace going back? Is that onerous on you all to go back to May and redo things?
She'll be able to do it.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passed. And we can readdress that. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, there's no.
How long is this good for? Till when?
I don't think we set a date on it. Last time we did, I think we just discussed it every couple meetings and seeing if there was a need. I think last time, once we got down to the blue, I think that's when I think we used the collar code. I think we took it out once we.
So when we get consistent blue, not just 1 week of blue.
Yeah, I'd have to look back, but I think that's what we done.
I think that if this is going on within a court, you're gonna have to come up here and talk. But the thing about it, if this is going on, I think there ought to be reports. We don't need names of who they are, but I think we as commissioners ought to get a report from that, of how much
It'd be
actually.
kind of nice to know what our history.
Well, I think HR can get that. We can ask her to do that.
I mean, just to know. I mean, nobody's name on it, so it's not.
Yeah.
Okay, so you made it retroactive. You have an employee that was off for what, 2 weeks, that came back and quit. So are we paying that 2 weeks?
John, how would that?
40 hours.
Can I do a little research on that?
Yeah,
That's an interesting question.
Absolutely. Thank you, Florida, for that.
Good point.
I think
Okay,
we're running
not
into
solved all the
budgets.
world's problems.
Anybody?
Public comment now?
How long it has been for a
will
while.
you be?
Half hour.
At least he's honest.
No. I'll give you 5
Travis
minutes.
Newman, and I just want to touch on the wind ordinance that was just passed, and in the APC meetings, they made it really clear that the ordinance, it might sound restrictive to some people, but it's still open for business because the setbacks, you can get good neighbor agreements. If everyone wants it, they buy in, and it proceeds. So the decibels, if people want to waive that, good neighbor agreement, everybody likes it, everybody wants it, then it can still proceed. So it's not like it's the headline shouldn't read Vermilion County Commissioners reject progress. It should read the county crafted an ordinance that's protecting the will of the folks in Vermilion County. Because what I want to get into now is the petition. I got a petition here. Talked to a lot of people, and it's overwhelmingly supportive of this ordinance. Actually, it exceeds the petition, so I'll give you guys that, and pay special attention to the far right column on there. It kind of expresses the will of the people, and I just like to thank the APC and the commissioners for moving forward on that.
Question, I missed that part. There's a good neighbor thing, if you sign off, then
I believe so.
Okay, I don't remember us reading that part, but it may be in there.
He's talking about the 2 mile
Does that
setback.
override the 2 mile? Does the neighbor override the 2 mile setback?
Well, that's why I was questioning. I don't remember reading that, but it may have been in there, I just
I
missed
thought that was
it.
through a variance process.
Okay, I didn't read that, but
They'd have to
it could be
the
there.
variance through the BZA.
There's not a good neighbor policy.
I don't remember reading
Yeah,
it.
maybe not.
May not be a bad idea, but I don't remember reading it.
Okay. Well,
Go
thank
ahead.
you.
I'm sorry
Thank
to
you.
interrupt you.
Anybody else got any public comments? We're gonna get you out of here before 11 o'clock. Hopefully, if there ain't nobody real long-winded. You ain't gonna be over 15 minutes, are you?
No. Lewis Perry, I just want to thank the APC for doing hours and hours and hours of work to come up with this wind ordinance. I think you've come up with a good ordinance, protects the people of Vermilion County. And I want to thank the commissioners for approving the ordinance. Again, it's good for Vermilion County, good for the residents of the area where this proposed wind farm is going. And I want to thank the public people here in the public who worked to educate, worked to bring issues forward to the APC, to feed into producing this ordinance. And the only thing else I got to say is, don't lower the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit on unposted county roads. You'll make criminals of all of us.
That's only if we get pulled over. No, I'm just kidding.
In closing, I want to say something about the wind ordinance. A lot of people do not realize that House Bill 1381, if House Bill 1381 was passed, our local zoning board would not have had no meetings on any of this, wind or solar. The state was trying to pass House Bill 1381. It was supported by people locally that wanted to promote wind and solar, in which we passed an ordinance on solar. But it took away the local control of zoning. And the state, I just want to say it publicly, and I'll say it every place, but it was definitely overreached by the state of Indiana, and to take away local decision making by the local people was wrong. And I just want to say that this decision came from the zoning board, whether you agree with it or not. They made a decision, and we approved that decision, or the majority of us did. So, but if House Bill 1381 would have passed, there would have been no zoning. We took away all the local control, and I think that's a bad misrepresentation of the local people. You have a voice, and we try to make that very clear in this courtroom. To come, you have your right to speak. I know we're going to adopt some rules and a procedure here, because it can be overused too. Some people here come on, put on a show, and we're not going to put up with it. But we do want to recognize you as a resident of Vermilion County. You have a right to come to this courtroom at any time when we have a meeting and voice your concerns, and we have an obligation to listen to you. And so that's all I have in closing.
Everybody needs to be aware this House bill is probably going to come back again in some form, if not the same form, next year. The thing is that if it does pass, it was within a half vote of passing this last time, and I'm sure the industry is probably going to be pushing again and probably make inroads and maybe even pass something from the state level. If they do, it was a minimum standard. There's still things that in an ordinance that will still apply that may negate part of our ordinances. So you need to be aware that whatever we have in here, and I'll just pull out one, is like the 2-mile setback. If they say a setback is a 1/4 mile, then the 2 mile would go away, but the rest of this ordinance would potentially apply, unless it's in conflict with what the state said. So that's where we need to be a little careful and be cognizant of really what's in our ordinance. So I'm not sure we've done that, but just be aware that parts of it can go away, but parts of it may still apply. So anyway, be due diligent, I guess, as to we go forward. Also, I didn't appreciate what our representative for this area, I guess with our redesignation of areas, that was, he voted, it came out of his committee, I think it was Alan Morrison. He's the one that was in his committee, and he's the one that brought it out, and it didn't, regardless of whether you like wind, or I think it was only wind, but regardless of whether you liked it or not, he's the one of them that pushed this agenda forward, take local planning out of the agenda, or out of the local control. So you might consider that next time we come up for voting.
Another thing I will say publicly, well, I've been read some redistricting that happened here in our Senate area. Next meeting I'll probably have an update on that, but I'm not going to talk about that today, but there is some redistricting done, some changes. Anybody else got anything to say? Do you want to say anything from the Rise? You came in late. Did you have anything you want to update from the Rise?
I don't have any big new updates.
This first readings today.
Actually,
wasn't passed today.
Okay.
Yeah, I read it.
Joe Ellis, president of the NECRA Rise Board. Just a couple quick updates. We are continuing negotiations for a solar project, which it was publicly announced in August that they had sold their power to CenterPoint Energy, and those negotiations are ongoing. We do have a current tenant that is installing equipment as we speak. He has asked us not to publicly announce what they are doing until the project is complete. I expect that to be soon, and there will be a public announcement. There will be a few jobs that come with that project. Then from that project, there will be a product that is produced that associated type companies will want to come in and locate with them. And we're in current negotiations with a company now that would be about an $85 million investment and 40 to 50 employees. That's very early stages. That's a startup. If it happens, great. If it doesn't, we're sure there will be other opportunities for other companies to come in that want to place their facility there. We're also in negotiations and expecting a meeting soon with a company that does computer things. I will say a huge energy user. They won't utilize a lot of space initially at the rise, but it could grow into very, very significant over time. A multi-million dollar investment over time, but that's in the early stages also. Those are just the big highlights. We have some other things going on, but all in very early stages.
Centerpoint is an RMC conglomerate. Is that right?
No, Centerpoint is Ameren.
So it's not an RMC affiliate?
Ameren has and I don't know if there's anybody here that knows, Ameren has rebranded as Centerpoint Energy. And it's my understanding that it's just the old Ameren. Or excuse me, Veteran, Ameren.
Okay, so it's not.
Yeah, right. And where they're going to use that energy, I don't know. But just that they are the off-taker for the power. And it's 185 megawatts of power. So it's a significant size project. It'll be a $200 million investment here in this county. 50 million of that will be installation, of which will be a local company that's already been initially contracted to do preliminary work. Other questions?
Anybody else?
I'll just make one. Sorry, it'll be really quick. And I don't know if you guys are real familiar with this or not. We had Dan Nelson from North Vermillion School Superintendent. He's got a lot of things that's going on with the school. They're doing some remodeling and stuff, but one of the big things is he's trying to work with the RISE to get a building or some space to build a CRT. Hopefully to incorporate both Vermillion and Park County. We're hoping to get it in our county. Senator John Ford with Thrive has approached him about doing a grant to build something out there. So if you get an opportunity to go to a meeting or something, his dialogue is phenomenal. I mean, he's got a lot of great ideas going on. So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Also on our next agenda, we need to address the defense, what is it called, the DA? What is it called? People that defend people that are...
Public Defenders Board?
Public Defenders Board, there you go. We need to put that on our agenda for next time.
What board? Do I need
Public
to contact
Defenders.
somebody? We have a board.
Right. It'd be nice if they could have talked to us at that point. I think Nancy Wilson,
Okay.
I believe.
Anybody else? Going once, going twice?
Yeah.
We need a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do we get everything done?
Discussion? Got a second?
Well, I'm sure there's something we could talk about.
Were you going to second or not, Michael?
Oh, second? Yes, I'll second.
Okay.
Adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Aye.
Closed.
You have that ordinance.
Do I have anything else to sign?
Harry,
You have that ordinance.
if you have a few minutes, I'd like to
That
talk
ordinance.
with you after.
That's the only copy I
If
have.
you're still, if you have to
Which
run,
one?
that's fine, we talk later. It's
When
nothing
you
real
guys-
important.
You mean about the disabled thing?
The wind ordinance.
No, I haven't touched the wind.
Yes, I gave it to you at the beginning of the meeting.
Right here.
Someone else.
See?
You had it.
Do I need to sign it?
Yes, I need, well, he's not signing because he opposed, but I know you signed it.
That's a question for John. Hey, John?
Yes.
When these things come around, it's happening to Tim.